Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cybersecurity. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with BITDEFENDER, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on BITDEFENDER, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, BITDEFENDER, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for another daily Formula 1 news video here on the Forever Motorsports channel. Do be sure to like the video and subscribe before we get underway here for this live news video. A lot to talk about today. First off though, Apple are considering or have already made an eye-watering bid for Formula 1's global broadcasting rights. Apple's potential monumental bid for Formula 1's global television rights have caused a lot of rumblings of a major shake-up in the Formula 1 broadcasting sphere, having surfaced as a report indicates that Apple's significant interest in securing global television rights for the sport has been divulged by a Business F1 magazine, talking about a serious lodging of a blockbuster bid posing a potential transformation in how Formula 1 reaches its avid global audience. The key takeaways from this are that Apple have incited their successful venture with the MLS, reportedly preparing to make a substantial bid for the global television rights to broadcast Formula 1. A deal with Formula 1 potentially costing up to $2 billion a year envisages a sliding scale of exclusivity for Apple, beginning at 25% and ambitiously scaling to 100% within 5 years, aligning with the expiration of current broadcasting contracts. So, Apple's recent successful alignment with the MLS has seemingly catalyzed their pursuit of a more lucrative sporting events to broadcast, capitalizing on evident synergies between technology and live sports. Concurrently, Apple is reportedly casting its net wider, reporting also considering. Concurrently, Apple is reportedly casting its net wider, reportedly also considering showcasing the English Premier League as well. However, nothing has been officially confirmed. When approached for comments, Ian Holmes, the director of media rights for Formula 1, preferred not to comment at this time. So very, very interesting to see that that Apple could make a massive bid for Formula 1's rights. Just finding another article here talking about it. Yeah, very, very interesting. I mean, I don't know if this could come into play. We'll have to wait and see. Because last year, MLS, of course, what we were talking about, Major League Soccer, which Apple took over and started streaming on its Apple TV service, which is a subscription-based service, very similar to Formula 1 TV or Sky Sports Formula 1. Business F1 reports that the deal will cost Apple around $2 billion a year, doubtful or double what the Formula 1 group is getting paid for their global TV rights currently. However, there are deals in place with broadcasters at the moment, so Apple won't get full rights immediately, which is why they would have to make that sliding scale. Disney-owned ESPN is one such broadcaster, as it holds the rights to the US market until 2025. This is likely the earliest that an Apple F1 deal can happen. The deal would reportedly be for a 7-year contract, with extending deals with the broadcasters gradually expiring. Apple should have global rights to auto itself within 5 years. This also means that Apple won't pay the full $2 billion a year immediately, but rather a fraction of that proportional to how much of the global rights it controls. For a comparison, the Major League Soccer rights cost just $250,000 a year. You can stream Major League Soccer for $15 a month or $29 for the full season on Apple TV+. Apple TV is currently producing a Formula One movie starring Brad Pitt with Joseph Kosinski in the director's role, while 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton is one of the producers. This movie will follow a fictional racing team, but Apple TV Plus is also working on a documentary focused on Hamilton. So certainly it looks like Apple is wanting to move a lot more into the sphere of Formula One. They are, as we've said, making their way into the film aspect of Formula One, and they look to be set to make a way into the broadcasting as well of Formula One in the future. Whether Apple will be able to make that work, we'll have to wait and see, as of course there is a lot of interest in broadcasting Formula One throughout the world. FIA, though, has also, in the last couple of days, approved Andretti's bid to join Formula One. This is a major talking point, which we've been talking about in the last coming weeks and months. There's been a lot of videos on my channel, or on this channel, speaking about it. And now the FIA have officially approved the Andretti Cadillac team's bid for a new team to join the Formula One grid. A new team could be joining Formula One in the near future after the governing body has approved one applicant following a rigorous process. The FIA has granted approval for a new team to join Formula One, opening the potential for the grid to expand beyond 20 cars. Following months of deliberation, the application of Andretti Formula Racing has been approved after a comprehensive application process. Earlier this year, the FIA opened the formal applications process for new teams to join the Formula One grid as early as 2025, 1 year before the new technical regulations come into play. Formula One has existed with 10 teams since the 2017 season, with Haas being the last squad to set up in the paddock. Last year, Andretti Global announced its plans to join Formula One in the future and confirmed a tie-up with Cadillac in January, which would see a major car brand arrive on the grid with it should it be successful. Andretti fields successful teams in the NTT IndyCar series as well as the all-electric Formula E category. As part of its increased investment into motorsport, Andretti showcased plans to build a brand new racing headquarters in Fishers, Indiana. This established their progress along with 3 other applicants to phase 2 of the process, which assessed them on their sporting and technical capabilities. The ability of the team to raise and maintain sufficient funding to allow participation in the championship at a competitive level, and the team's experience and human resources. With the FIA's approval, a decision now must be made by Formula One itself, with the governing body confirming that its findings have been passed on to the Formula One management for commercial discussions. Andretti have been reportedly the only team to fulfill the selected criteria. FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem said, "The FIA was very clear on its establishment stringent criteria. The FIA was very clear in establishing stringent criteria for their entry from the outset of the expressions on interest procedure. Our objective after rigorous due diligence during the application process was to only approve prospective entries which satisfied the set criteria and illustrated that they would add value to the sport." The FIA is obligated to approve. The FIA is obliged to approve applications that comply with the expressions of interest application requirements, and we have adhered to the procedure in deciding that Andretti Formula Racing LLC's application would proceed to the next stage of that application process. In taking that decision, the FIA is acting in accordance with EU directives on motorsport participation and development. Andretti Formula Racing was the only entity which fulfills the selection criteria that was set in all material aspects. And congratulate Michael Andretti and his team on a thorough submission. I also want to thank all prospective teams for their interest and participation. The expressions of interest process builds up on positive acceptance of the FIA's 2026 Formula One power unit regulations among existing OEMs, which has already attracted further commitment from Audi, Honda and Ford, and interest from Porsche and General Motors. I would like to thank all of the FIA teams. I would like to thank all of the FIA team members involved in the expressions of interest process for their tireless efforts in ensuring a diligent assessment of the FIA team applications received. So very exciting to see that the FIA has approved Andretti's bid to join Formula 1 in 2025. Whether Formula 1 management will approve that, though, we will have to wait and see. There's a lot that does now have to happen before they can be admitted onto the Formula 1 grid. The Concord agreement with all of the teams would have to be redrawn because, of course, the teams don't really want their funds diluted with a new team being brought into the sport. It's also been rumored that a new team would have to pay a dilution fee of about, I think it's $200 million a year to not allow the rest of the teams to lose any money from the winnings pot at the end of the season. So it's really a lot of politics that are still involved, a lot of behind the scenes talking and, as I said, politics still with the FIA and Formula 1 group. Liberty Media might still not be all too happy to admit another team onto the Formula 1 grid. We'll have to wait and see, though, what does happen. Do be sure, though, to drop a comment down in the comment section for us. We've asked there as well in a poll, do you want Andretti as Formula 1's 11th team? 67% of you currently saying yes, 33% saying no. Do be sure to let us know who you would prefer to have as our 11th team on the Formula 1 grid if you are saying no in that poll. Of course, Audi are making their way into the sport very, very shortly, as well as Porsche had rumours that they were coming into the sport, but that did fall through. They were in talks with Red Bull about possibly joining forces, but as we said already, that did fall through. Moving on, though, to another article here, as a Formula 1 star is linked with a sensational move to replace Perez at Red Bull. Daniel Ricciardo is reportedly Red Bull's first choice if they do opt to dispense with Sergio Perez in 2024, despite leaving the team at the end of 2018. Ricciardo made a sensational return to the Formula 1 grid this season with Red Bull's sister team AlphaTauri, replacing the underperforming Nick de Vries. Although an injury has temporarily interrupted Ricciardo's comeback, he has been confirmed for AlphaTauri's lineup for next season. However, Lawrence Barretto reported on Formula1.com that Sergio Perez is under pressure at Red Bull, having scored only a little over half the number of points his teammate has mustered this season. The Mexican currently trailing 177 points, despite having what is comfortably the best car in the field. Sources have suggested, though, that Ricciardo would be Red Bull's favoured driver to replace Perez if required, either mid-season or at the end of the 2024 campaign. While Perez secured 2 Grand Prix victories earlier in 2023, the mounting pressure on him has... I don't know where he got any victories. Perez, not Ricciardo. While Perez secured 2 Grand Prix victories earlier in 2023, the mounting pressure on him has intensified, particularly with Ricciardo's return to the grid. Ricciardo's return to Formula 1 after being dropped by McLaren last season, with his ultimate goal being to secure a seat with Red Bull. Perez's contract with Red Bull now expires at the end of 2024, posing a significant decision for the team on whether to retain him as Max Verstappen's teammate or to bring in his former teammate Daniel Ricciardo. The dynamic between Perez and Verstappen has been occasionally turbulent, further complicating Perez's future with the team. Could this cause an upset, though, in the Red Bull team to oust Perez mid-season if he doesn't continue to perform next season? We'll have to wait and see, because I think he's been doing alright this season. Max Verstappen is just on a completely other level, and of course Perez has had some troublesome weekends with the likes of some crashes in qualifying, some crashes in the race, as well as just not having the same pace that his teammate Max Verstappen has had at certain tracks. It's been disappointing. We'd want to see Sergio Perez doing really well in that Red Bull car. I'd love to see him fighting for a world championship with Max Verstappen. I was really hoping that this season would get a title challenge at the likes of Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton of the past, but it wasn't meant to be, unfortunately, this season, as we have had Max Verstappen just completely dominating his teammate and the rest of the grid. And yeah, it's thrown up a lot of question marks about Sergio Perez, whether he will be able to stay in that team come the future, because Red Bull do seem to be just getting a little bit antsy with him not being able to match his teammate. And we've seen, though, that it is just so difficult to match Max Verstappen. He's gone through so many teammates in the past. Perez did quite well last season to act as a rear gunner for Red Bull, and he's been doing really well as a rear gunner once again this year, but in certain races, as I've said already, he just has been a little bit lost. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, though, what does happen with Sergio Perez. As now, the next Formula 1 rumour we are talking about, Formula 1 rumours, the FIA have made a last-minute change to the Qatar Grand Prix after multiple drivers' offences. An innovative compromise induced introduction of concrete slabs aiming to strategically enforce track limits at the reimagined Losail International Circuit during the 2023 Qatar Grand Prix. Emerging details reveal a fresh approach to managing track limits at the Qatar Grand Prix, utilising concrete slabs designed to deter drivers from exploiting circuit boundaries. The measure, prompted by an ongoing dilemma surrounding track limits and following an intriguing discourse between the FIA and FIM, which is the Moto GP governing body, embeds a unique solution at the Losail International Circuit. As the 2023 Qatar Grand Prix, marking the first in a decade-long contract, looms on the horizon, all eyes have been drawn to an unexpected last-minute alteration at the Losail circuit. Since Formula One's inaugural visit in 2021, which memorably was won by Lewis Hamilton, the circuit has witnessed extensive modifications to meet the rigorous demands of hosting long-term Formula One actions. But it is a distinctive change concerning track limits that has caught attention ahead of a race where Max Verstappen, after a triumphant victory in Japan, is considered to be the predominant favourite. According to news articles, the new track limit enforces innovative concrete blocks have been installed behind curbs at crucial corners. These blocks present a dual surface, one smooth, the other rendered coarse by solidified gravel, envisioned to dissuade drivers from crossing over them, thereby maintaining respect for track limits. The initiative was born out of a diverging viewpoint between Formula One's governing body, the FIA, and MotoGP's governing body entity, the FIM. The FIA championed for gravel traps enveloping the runoff areas, while the FIM proposed asphalt strips preceding the gravel. The ultimate decision saw the circuit choosing from FIM's asphalt suggestion, devising a compromise for Formula One in the form of the newly integrated concrete blocks. So we'll have to wait and see, though, if this does allow the teams or the drivers to stop going over those track limits there, as the Losail circuit is set to debut those new concrete blocks this next weekend out in Qatar, as it is once again a race week here this week. I completely forgot that it was a race week, but we do have once again the Qatar Grand Prix making its debut after a year hiatus, of course, because of the Qatar FIFA World Cup. They do, though, join once again this year, and they are going to be on the calendar for, I think it's another 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, as Formula One have signed them on a multi-year contract to bring Formula One to Qatar. Yeah, very interesting, though, that this is the compromise or the way that teams are, or that the FIA is going about trying to dissuade drivers from going over the track limits. Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it's the safest way, because we've seen in the past those concrete blocks and sausage curbs can be quite dangerous. We've had drivers like, I think it was, her name is just gone out of my mind now, but we've seen in the past in Australia, or not Australia, in Austin, America, where I think it was not Jessica Hawkins, but one of the Formula or the W Series drivers went over one of those sausage curbs and broke her back because of the aggressiveness of that. We don't want to see that happening. We don't want to see drivers being hurt because of aggressive curbs and other things like that. But hopefully it does dissuade drivers from going over the track limits. We'll see, though, whether that does help this weekend. I'm sure the teams will be wanting to stay very far away from that for sure. As we move on to our next article here, Mercedes fears that it has lost their race day Formula One tyre edge over Ferrari. Mercedes suspects that its tyre advantage over their main Formula One rival, Ferrari, has been wiped away thanks to the progress that their Italian squad has made recently. In the early phase of the season, the Mercedes team would have the edge in races because its W14 car was much less harsh on its ties than the Ferrari team. However, as Ferrari has made gains in the understanding of its car in 2023, and why it was so hard on its rubber early on, its race pace has improved dramatically. And with that, the two teams now are locked in a fight for the runners-up in the Constructors' Championship, which has now switched in team characteristics, and could prove critical as their fight plays out over the remaining 6 races of the campaign. At the recent Japanese Grand Prix, where tyre degradation was a critical factor in deciding the pace on Sunday, Ferrari showed how on top of things it was, as Charles Leclerc finished ahead of Mercedes and their lead car of Lewis Hamilton. This was a result that Mercedes trackside engineer and director Andrew Chauvelin believed proved that the Ferrari was no longer behind with its management on tyre degradation. Chauvelin reckoned that Mercedes' lack of performance over the Japanese Grand Prix weekend was down to a simple lack of downforce. I think the performance deficit was there in qualifying. We have a little bit less performance through the fast corners. It's the same thing that was costing us in the race, he said. I think really this track is all about how much grip you have. In the fast corners. A little bit, or a lot of that will be downforce, and we do need to look at where a little bit, and we do look like we are a little bit behind in that regard to Ferrari. Ferrari did bring an upgraded floor, so maybe they've moved forward. But I think if we look at some of our recent tracks, that advantage we have had with degradation, it's not as evident now in the season as it was in the earlier races. Speaking at the Japanese Grand Prix, Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur acknowledged that his squad had made good gains improving its tyre management, considering what it showed in the race. It's sure if you have to look at the first couple of races of the season, the degradation or the tyre management were not always our greatest skill, he said. Coming to Suzuka though, with this track temperature, we were a little bit at risk, but at the end of the day, I think we did a good job on the side. The race was under control. The strategy was well managed. We did well. A clear step forward compared to the first part of the season. And certainly it has been a major step forward since the beginning of the season, where they just completely fell away in races. I mean, that's why they were down in 5th in the Constructors' Championship at one point, because they just had terrible race days when, of course, all the points were scored. They just had absolutely horrific tyre degradation, which meant that their strategies were constantly compromised. They weren't able to follow closely with other cars and weren't able to challenge for podium positions. And now that they've been able to understand a little bit better and hit the ground running a little bit more with their tyre degradation being a little bit more under control, it's really allowed them to get a lot closer to the Mercedes and challenge them. We've seen them take a race win in Singapore. We've seen them get really close now in Japan as well. And what could they do throughout the rest of the season? Certainly the Ferraris are going to be one of the teams to keep looking at. They're going to be wanting to take away that second position in the Constructors' Championship away from Mercedes. That is their goal for the rest of the season. It's going to be difficult, but if Mercedes keep dropping the ball a little bit, it could fall into the hands of Ferrari. Just looking a little bit at our comment section and seeing what you guys are all saying there. Just do be sure to keep dropping us comments and letting us know what you feel. As we move on to our next article here, that's saying McLaren are eager to avoid any more Norris and Piastri Formula 1 team orders. McLaren wants to avoid the need for imposing any more team orders on its Formula 1 drivers, after again intervening between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri in Japan. With its two drivers on slightly offset strategies at Suzuka, McLaren had to ask Piastri to let Norris through at one point to ensure that they did not waste time fighting each other and risk squandering the team's prospects for a double podium finish. The latest call to get the drivers' help from each other came after similar team orders requests at the Hungarian Grand Prix as well as the Italian Grand Prix. McLaren boss Andrea Stella has no doubt that the team has done the right thing in swapping its drivers around when needed though. But he accepts it is something that he is not eager to happen all the time. Asked how the Japan call compared to those made in Hungary and Italy, Stella said, "It was much easier, in a way, as to those situations which were stressful, especially the one in Monza. And when I say stressful, I mean stressful, because we created stress between our two drivers. We could have avoided that, really. That's something that we reviewed. It may happen again in the future, but when it is avoidable, we should avoid it." In this case, the approach was, let's see how fast Lando is closing. and let's see if overtaking comes naturally. When we saw that it doesn't come so naturally, then we asked the drivers to swap, so that we wouldn't lose the race time for both. Stella thinks that the pace between Norris and Piastri in the Japanese Grand Prix at the stage of the race, when the team had to intervene, was exaggerated by the excessive tyre degradation. In a race like this, every lap of tyre that you save, so if you pit 1 lap later than somebody else, you gain 1/10, added Stella. Lando at this stage pitted 6 laps later than Piastri, so his car is automatically 6/10 quicker than any other car. Also, in addition to that, I have to say that Lando's pace was very good in absolute terms. And if anything, we have to look at Oscar, at where he could have gained the 1 or 2 tenths overall pace that seemed to lack compared to Lando. Interesting to see that they're not wanting to have these team orders too much more in the future. We don't really disagree with them all too much, because it can really provide some tricky situations for teammates and could provide some crashes as well. We've seen it in the past between, them. They had a bit of a crash there in Monza. They bumped wheels, fortunately not causing any damage, but we don't want to see them getting too close and having those issues during races, because of course that just causes major headaches on the team wall there between all of the management at McLaren. We've seen this though in the past as well with other teams. Mercedes also recently in, I think it was Singapore, as well as now this last weekend out in Japan. Their drivers were fighting, but you kind of sometimes have to let them fight out on track. But other times when the team can see that their pace is so much different and one driver has a much faster pace than the other, you do just have to enforce team orders and say, come guys now, Lando is faster than you, let's just let him go through. And if he can't make any big changes in the end of the race, then we'll swap once again. But yeah, very interesting to see that McLaren are just saying that they're not too upset about the fact that they're having to make these team orders, but they would like to minimize that in the future. Just looking at some updates on the 2026 regulations though that have been released here. There's just been a few more updates on that, as been released by Red Bull Racing Daily on Twitter. 30 kilograms of fuel is to be used to charge the battery of the Formula 1 car, with the width reduced from 190 centimeters to 200 centimeters, as well as the wheelbase length is going to be reduced to 340 centimeters from 360. A reduction to 330 centimeters is possible, but the teams have to show resistances, or have shown resistances towards it. A 40% reduction in downforce is also expected, as well as overtaking should become easier without the use of artificial aids, probably reducing the likes of DRS as well as the ERS that comes into play. I'm really looking forward to the 2026 regulations. I'm hoping that the cars get a lot smaller, because that will allow closer racing, as well as closer racing on certain circuits, such as street circuits like Monaco, Azerbaijan. We want to see closer racing between these cars. We want to see smaller cars. We want to see the noise of these cars being brought up as well. There's, of course, a big engine regulations change coming in 2026. There's been a big freeze up until then for the regulations. But whether we'll see major upsets coming from those regulation changes, of course, Audi makes their way into sports that season. I'm really looking forward to 2026. It's really looking like that season is going to be an absolute cracker for all of us. And we sure do hope that all of you guys will be joining us for all of that as well. But that has been it for me here today on Forever Motorsport. Thank you very much for joining me. Do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy all of the content that we are bringing out to you guys. There will be a whole bunch of short form content being brought to you throughout the day as well. Please do be sure to hit that like button and do be sure to hit that notification bell icon to get notifications from us when we do upload on this channel. Thank you very much though for joining us here today. I have been Reece here on Forever Motorsports. Cheers. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with Bitdefender, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on Bitdefender, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, Bitdefender, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports here for another daily Formula 1 news video. And once again, a lot to talk about, as you've already seen in our poll that is asking you guys, do you think Alpine will be able to resolve their infighting and return to the top of the Formula 1 field? If you have not voted in that poll, please do be sure to go and cast your vote there for that. And let us know what you think about Alpine. We'll go straight in though with that news about Alpine. The Alpine Formula 1 CEO reveals his plan to fix a huge amount of internal issues at Alpine. The Alpine CEO, Luca Di Maio, has outlined a clear plan to address significant problems within his Formula 1 team. The French outfit began the latest regulation changes in a reasonable fashion last year, establishing themselves as the best of the rest. Despite reliability presenting itself as a clear weakness, Alpine had a strong foundation to build upon for 2023. However, the team's aspirations to fight at the front failed to materialize over the winter break. From day one in pre-season, the A523 proved to be relatively uncompetitive. Despite the quiet confidence shown by Otmar Safnauer in interviews, there were few signs that Alpine would be world beaters in Bahrain. Pierre Gasly's P9 finish was a strong recovery from qualifying, validating the early consensus. Still, later events in Australia and Miami provided some optimism for the team, and that they could pull themselves somehow up the field. Under certain conditions, the French team was capable of giving the likes of Aston Martin something to worry about. Although a fantastic weekend in Monaco provided further encouragement, the A523 has shown little promise since then. Whilst the car is relatively compliant in terms of handling, it lacks the performance to compete for major honours. With Ocon and Gasly having both managed exceptional podiums in 2023, but these have been anomalies in the results. Furthermore, the mid-season development at McLaren has served as a magnifying glass for the lack of progress at Enstone. However, despite the reality of Alpine's situation, it was only 18 months ago that CEO Laurent Rossi outlined the team's 5-year plan. The team's high-ranking personnel all seemed convinced that this timeline was appropriate. Therefore, Alpine's pace this year shouldn't have triggered any significant alarm within the squad, at least in theory. As the first races were completed, however, internal frustrations soon began to surface. Laurent Rossi began the 2023 campaign with a series of criticisms towards the team. The Frenchman then listed a variety of grievances, seemingly dissatisfied with the team's progress. In response, albeit via interactions with the media, team principal Otmar Safnauer made clear that success in Formula 1 cannot be rushed. Evidently, there were internal disagreements. Not too long after this exchange, during the Belgium Grand Prix weekend, the dismissal of Safnauer and Permain was announced. Whilst there were clear elements of confusion and uncertainty, one thing soon became clear. The widely discussed 5-year plan was no longer viable. Luca Di Maio and the other senior personnel at Alpine have set goals for more immediate success though. In a speech given at Enstone, broadcast in the factory as well in Vieri, Di Maio outlined a series of changes. A range of topics were discussed by the Renault CEO, which had been discussed by both L'Equipe and Motorsport Total. Di Maio had made things clear that the old ways of thinking will no longer be tolerated in the team. And Alpine will be working towards a fresh approach and increased collaboration between the Enstone team and the Viral team as well. As previously, there have been instances of clear division between the English and French departments in the team. An example of this tension takes place during race weekends, where the team's English and French personnel have been known to book separate hotels. At a constructor with At a constructor that manufactures its own engines, this lack of chemistry is detrimental. Alpine has received plenty of criticism for the unreliability of their engines as well, especially during the 2022 season. In addition to reliability, the French power unit provides less horsepower than Mercedes, Honda, or their Ferrari counterparts. However, it is no secret that Alpine has deficiencies in various areas. Excuses are also becoming increasingly difficult to accept in modern Formula 1, as proven by Aston Martin and McLaren. Internal cohesion and innovation will be rewarded out on track. Alpine will benefit instantly, or at least optically, from less noise in Formula 1. The scrutiny surrounding the outfit has impacted their Formula 1 performance negatively. With that said, Bruno Famin and his technical team must work efficiently to bridge the gap to the Ferrari team. So really interesting to hear all of this coming out about Alpine this year. We don't necessarily know, I didn't necessarily know about all of these internal struggles and internal divisions between the team. And it's certainly very interesting to hear about the fact that the English department of the team, of course, which are based in the UK, and the French department, of course, based in their home country, don't get along well. And for them to even book separate hotels is completely unheard of in Formula 1. Normally the teams or travel together, they spend a lot of time together. Normally they get along like a big family, and to hear that there's such big divisions in a team is unprecedented, and I really do hope that they're able to sort out all of these issues, because we don't want Alpine to be relinquished to the back of the grid yet again. As I see, we have a couple more people voting in that poll now, with 67% saying that they're going to be able to jump back to the top of the Formula 1 grid, and 33% saying that they're not going to be able to fix their internal issues. Yeah, very interesting there, that is for sure. As we move on to another article now, and I'm going to change that poll that we have up there. Let me quickly end that. And I'm going to start a new poll for you. Just asking, who do you think Andretti will choose to drive for their team in 2025 or 2026? Of course, this is all speculative, because we don't know if not Alpine, Andretti are going to be on the grid in 2025 or 2026. We're still waiting for the approval of the Formula 1 management, but the FIA has at least accepted their bid to be the 11th team on the Formula 1 grid. We're going to be speaking about them next in our next article, so let's go ahead and put in some names. Colton Herta is one of the candidates there. We also have Jamie Chadwick. She is currently racing for them in IndyCar, so of course she is also a option there for 2025 or 2026. And then I'm going to quickly have a look there. Valtteri Bottas was another. Bottas, and then I'm going to put other. If you do vote for other, please do be sure to let us know in the comment section who you are voting for there. And there you have it. So do be sure to vote in that poll that is up now. Who do you think Andretti will choose to drive for them in 2025 or 2026? Your options are Colton Herta, Jamie Chadwick, Valtteri Bottas, and other, which you should let us know in the comments who you want for that seat. So going through this article now, the outstanding candidate for an Andretti drive is currently on the grid. Andretti has been approved by the FIA for an entry slot in Formula 1. But who could the drivers be if it agrees terms with Formula 1 management on commercial matters? Andretti's Formula Racing LLC, to give its proper name, has not been yet granted acceptance to join the Formula 1 grid, despite the FIA's announcement on October 2nd that it had forwarded the application onto Phase 3. While Formula 1's governing body is happy that Andretti Global's bid meets all the relevant criteria, the important Phase 3 sees the team thrashing out financial terms with the commercial rights holder, which is Formula 1 itself. Bluntly put, if Formula 1 doesn't, can't or won't come to an agreement with Andretti, the team won't be on the grid in either 2025 or 2026. Formula 1's reactions all through the application process has been rather lukewarm though towards the whole thing, but now comes the time to sit at the table and see what arrangement is possible. If Formula 1 does eventually agree terms with Andretti, it would much rather see a 2026 entry when the new Concord agreement would be in play, as opposed to the other one that covers the 2021 to 2025 seasons, with just the $200 million anti-dilution fee in that period. Be that as it may, now it has the letter, or should that be press release, from the FIA confirming it is happy. Preparations can now be ramped up with the teams, and that includes figuring out which two squishy bits of organic material will strap themselves into the first Andretti Cadillac Formula 1 car. Let's take a look at some of the contenders, starting with, yep, you guessed it, Colton Herta. When we spoke about exclusive drivers to Mario Andretti in August, the father of boss Michael reiterated that the fact there would be an American driver in one of the two seats. For this particular reason, 2 plus 2 does not equal 4, but it does equal Colton Herta. In autumn of 2022, Red Bull Motorsport advisor Helmut Marko tried everything to get Herta a seat in Formula 1 with AlphaTauri, but his lack of super license points was a stumbling block. For argument's sake, let's say Andretti enters in 2026. The 3-year period for points to count would cover the 2023 to 2025 seasons, with 40 the magical number required to get that super license. In 2023, Herta finished 10th in the IndyCar standings, enough to earn him 1 point, meaning 39 are still required. He will need to finish in the top 3 standings in the next 2 seasons to hit that 40-point mark, with the champion actually receiving the full whack in one go. If he finds himself a few points short, Herta could jump into some Formula 1 free practice 1 sessions if Andretti could find a team willing to do this, to earn some extra points, in the same way Logan Sargent did with Williams in 2022. As it stands over the 2021, 2022 and 23 seasons, Herta has 10 points from his IndyCar commitments, although the 21 Hall of 8 will fall away at the end of the 2024 season. Herta might be the choice Andretti wants, but getting him there may be a very different story altogether. If they are not able to get Herta into that seat, Valtteri Bottas is, of course, a very logical choice. Now, while Andretti certainly has its aspirations to be mixing it with the likes of Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes and McLaren, that is not going to happen straight away. A good first season or two will become a regular point scorer and Q3 fixture, battling away in the midfield for every point. As such, Andretti will require a calm, experienced and knowledgeable head with the front-running experience to help the team grow, but also with the know-how of navigating minefields and the midfield. On the current grid, the standout candidate is of course Valtteri Bottas. He should be number 1 on the shopping list for Andretti come 2025 or 26. When Audi rock up to Sauber in 2026, it is likely that it will want its own high-profile signing to lead the team. Audi is unlikely then to retain Bottas' services, which leaves him either with one option of retirement or getting stuck in and building the Andretti project. Let us not forget that Bottas is an extremely fast driver, one who outqualified Lewis Hamilton at a rate of about 1 in 3 at Mercedes. He has priceless knowledge of a title-winning machine and relevant racing experience of battling away in the midfield, both with Williams and latterly Alfa Romeo. If Bottas is interested in the seat, it is really a no-brainer, and Andretti should be chucking whatever it takes to get the Finn signature on the dotted line. Sergio Perez similarly fits the bill, and he is unlikely to be at Red Bull in 2025 and would be in a similar boat to Bottas, with the opportunity to potentially leave a lasting legacy in Formula 1. Another name that has been speculated with this team is Joseph Newgarden. If Herta fails to get a super license, the next best thing Michael Andretti can do to get an American in the seat is to get on the phone to Roger Penske and ask the captain if he wouldn't awfully mind releasing his star driver for a shot at Formula 1. Newgarden has been linked to Formula 1 before, back in 2017 after wrapping up his first IndyCar title. As the Toro Rosso driver nonsense played out with Daniel Kvyat, Pierre Gasly, Brendan Hartley, and Carlos Sainz taking musical chairs to the extreme, Newgarden was touted to be a potential driver for the remaining 4 races of the year. However, he firmly rejected that at the time, believing it would make no sense to trundle around the back of the Formula 1 field. Along with 2021 and 23 champion Alex Palou, Newgarden is arguably one of the top 5 drivers in the world not in Formula 1, and is a devastatingly fast driver on his day. He finally had that Indy 500 win he has craved for so long under his belt, so could the opportunity appeal to drive for an American team in Formula 1? That should certainly be questioned. Probably not, perhaps with an FP1 outing or test day, his hope of getting behind the wheel. And lastly, to take that wheel would be Jamie Chadwick, who was touted to take a seat with another racing team. I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Carlin, who were hoping to get into Formula 1. Of course, their bid was denied by the FIA, and now Jamie Chadwick's hopes and dreams of getting into a Formula 1 seat would certainly lie with who she's currently racing with, and that is, of course, Andretti. Perhaps the least likely of all candidates here is Jamie Chadwick, who has been long listed as the next hope of getting a female driver into Formula 1. She is currently competing in the Indy NXS series with Andretti, but her first season stateside was poor, with a best finish of 6th in Portland and 10th in the standings. Moreover, the points that Chadwick earned for her W Series title success will be wiped by the time of 2026, meaning she would face an almighty battle to secure enough points to earn that vital super license. So, a lot of drivers in the works and in the wings waiting for an Andretti seat, but we'll have to wait and see who that certainly does come in 2025 or 2026, who Andretti decides to take and put into that seat. We have Orville Clisby there in the comment section saying, remember the title battle of, Orville Clisby saying an American driver that comes with no money, or that comes with money, would certainly be he hopes for Andretti. Of course, there are a lot more American viewerships and a lot more American viewers coming to the sport, so of course a lot more American sponsors would be wanting to come on board with an American driver. We'll have to wait and see though who will come into the team with Andretti should Formula 1 management approve their bid to join as Formula 1's 11th team in 2025 or 2026. Moving on now to our next article, and we have spoken about it at length in the last few weeks, about Daniel Ricciardo and when he will be joining the Formula 1 grid yet again because of that broken hand of his. And now another article coming out saying the Ricciardo decision has been made ahead of the Qatar Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo is still not yet fit enough to return to AlphaTauri at the Qatar Grand Prix, meaning that Liam Lawson will once again step up this weekend. Red Bull reserve driver Liam Lawson was drafted in to fill Ricciardo's seat after he sustained a hand injury during a practice session ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix. Ricciardo had initially targeted a potential comeback in Singapore, but upon further reflection, then shifted his focus to climbing behind the wheel in Qatar. However now, journalist Chris Medland has reported that the Australian is making steady progress in the simulator, but still isn't yet at 100% fitness. As a result, he has now set sights on a likely return at the United States Grand Prix, indicating that this upcoming race in Qatar will likely be the last for Lawson. Lawson has impressed the paddock after securing his first ever Formula 1 points haul at the Singapore Grand Prix, and has also consistently outperformed his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who has been guaranteed a seat for next year. But despite receiving praise from Red Bull, he fell short of securing a 2024 spot, with Ricciardo also confirmed to have cemented his position at AlphaTauri in 2024. Currently, only one seat is available at Williams, but it is believed that Lawson will continue as a Red Bull reserve driver, provided he is guaranteed a 2025 promotion. Ricciardo replaced Nick de Vries after just 10 races in the season, with the expectation that the move positioned him on a path to potentially be reclaiming that Red Bull seat from the struggling Sergio Perez. However, now with the speculation that Perez could possibly lose the seat to Ricciardo after a series of underwhelming results, Lawson could well return to the grid earlier than expected. Of course, we'll have to wait and see. We don't think that Perez will lose the seat before the end of this year, but there is a lot of speculation that if he does not up his pace for 2024, he could lose his seat mid-season as well, following on the trend of Nick de Vries. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that seat. Sad to hear that Daniel Ricciardo is not going to be sitting in the seat this weekend, of course, in Qatar. There were maybe some speculations that he might sit in the FP1 session, but if he wasn't fit enough in that FP1 session to go throughout the rest of the weekend, then of course that would really put Liam Lawson on the back foot, because it is a sprint race weekend, which means that there's only one practice session. Of course, on the Friday you've got FP1, then you've got qualifying in the evening, then sprint qualifying on Saturday morning, sprint race on the afternoon, and then of course the race on Sunday. So you really need that first practice session to get to grips with this track, and it's a really difficult track, really high speed. We will be getting up a track guide a little bit later in the week for you guys. I'm hoping to finish that tomorrow and get that up for you. But now moving on to our next article, James Key is in the... Well, Alfa Romeo's Joe Guanyu has said James Key's arrival at the Formula 1 team is a refreshing one, as the former McLaren boss is tasked with delivering a big step in 2024. Alfa Romeo has been languishing near the rear of the midfield with a 2023 car that has lacked overall aerodynamic performance. It has restricted the team to just 10 points so far, 2 points behind fellow strugglers Haas, while seeing Alex Albon and Williams break free as the clear favourites to finish 7th and 8 points ahead. Alfa's disappointing season so far is prompting major changes to its car. The project, which has been overseen by an incoming technical director, James Key, who has been headhunted by his former McLaren boss, Andreas Seidel, to lead the car development as the Sauber team's transitions into the Audi Works squad by 2026. Joe, who has recently re-signed with the team for a third season, said Key's arrival has been a boost for the team in its quest to take major gains. It is very refreshing for the team in general, Joe told reporters. The atmosphere doesn't change massively, but the way how we bring in new people. James works very closely with Andreas, which is in a nice way, because Andreas is going to lead the Works team in the future, so it sounds super exciting. I had a lot of meetings with James as well. He was quite happy to hear the drivers, as well as giving feedback, which is very clear just to be moving forward and to improve. It is what we need to make bigger changes for the 2024 package and make a bigger step. So I think that with James here in the future, we can definitely be heading in a direction that is a lot better. Alfa's head of trackside engineering, Xavier Pujola, admitted that the team's 2023 season has shown that the team's car needs a major overhaul to avoid being stuck in no man's land for next season. Our mindset is to take a big step, otherwise we'll get stuck where we are. James is really working hard on next year's car, but obviously he's looking at what we've got now and helping in any area that we can to improve in the short term, which we want to do, because P7 is still our target. To that end, Alfa will continue to develop its 2023 car all the way to the penultimate round in Las Vegas in the middle of November. Very interesting to see that the introduction of that new key member in Alfa Romeo is starting to ramp up their development for next season, as well as trying to get that development for this car a lot better as well, because of course if they can get the basis of this current car, they can really maybe hit the ground running a lot better next season with a lot more understanding. Yeah, very interesting. I have a bunch of you guys talking about the Battle of Napoleon. He says, I remember the title Battle of Waterloo. Napoleon lost because Latifi crashed into him, says Mark's box. And he also says they'd bring back Danny Rick. He should be back very soon in Austin, which is the next race after the Qatar Grand Prix. And yeah, hopefully we will get a refreshed and a much fitter Danny Rick back in that car. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks. as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with Bitdefender, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on Bitdefender, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, Bitdefender, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Our next two articles are about Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen has admitted that while breaking historical records is great, his career focus is winning the Drivers' Championship and achieving with his team. The recent dominance of Verstappen needs no introduction. A total of 38 wins from the last 60 Grand Prix by the Dutchman alone highlights his level of success. Along the way, the Red Bull centerpiece has naturally conquered some of Formula 1's storied records. His crown and glory being the most consecutive races won in a row, which is now 10, beating the previous record of Sebastian Vettel with 9. Despite these achievements, Verstappen still values the world title more than any other record. While speaking on the Red Bull podcast, the reigning champion explained his thinking behind the lust for the Drivers' Championship over anything else. It's good, but at the other end, I'm not too focused about it. I just want to do the best I can every single time I'm in the car. And if that means that you break a record, okay, great. But it's more important that you're doing and achieving. At the end of the day, my goal this year is to win the championship. He was also asked which Grand Prix he considers his favourite. However, once again, Verstappen opted to refer to his current team's success at the back-to-back constructors titles achieved with Red Bull. My first race win in Formula 1, I think that was pretty special, but also the races we are achieving now as a team, being that competitive, is honestly very enjoyable to be a part of. While Verstappen is enjoying one of the greatest individual periods of success in Formula 1 history, the 26-year-old is very aware of just how quickly that things can change. I'm not afraid of losing. I hate losing, but that's also a part of the game, he said. At the end of the day, you lose more than you win. I've lost a lot also before winning in Formula 1. I've been through the stage of not being able to win, and now that we are winning, you just have to enjoy the moment and enjoy it while it lasts. When asked what the key was to his recent championship runs, the Red Bull driver cited that his consistency as the biggest skill he bears over his rivals. You have to be very consistent over a season, he said, and you cannot really have off days and off weekends. You have to be on it all the time. That's not always easy to achieve. Sometimes weekends they start maybe a bit tougher for you, but that's how it is, and you try and get yourself out of a tough situation. Looking towards this weekend, Verstappen is also set to match his father-in-law, 2 nights and Senna in Qatar, as Max Verstappen only needs a 6th place finish at the Qatar Sprint race to seal a 3rd World Championship. The Qatar Grand Prix Sprint is Max Verstappen's first chance to wrap up his 3rd straight World Championship. He is 177 points clear of Sergio Perez with 180 left on the board for the rest of the championship season, meaning a 6th place finish on Sunday at Losail will be enough to ensure that the trophy stays on his top, on top his drinks fridge by his sim rig for another year. When Verstappen does win the title, he will become the 11th driver to win 3 or more titles and the 6th to be a triple world champion. On the current list of those he can match, it includes his father-in-law, as well as Sir Jackie Stewart and Ayrton Senna. Not bad company at all then. Currently also on that list is Niki Lauda, Nelson Piquet, of course, which is his father-in-law, and Sir Jack Brabham, who are all triple world champions. Of course, some drivers have gone beyond the magical 3-time threshold, and interestingly, they all have but one. Of course, some drivers have gone beyond the magical 3-time threshold, and interestingly, they all but one have something in common with Verstappen. The drivers listed below, with the exception of Alain Prost, have all won 3 or more titles in a row, with Michael Schumacher's 5 with Ferrari the all-time record. Of course, there's 7 titles with Schumacher, Hamilton with 7, Fangio with 5, Prost with 4, and Vettel with 4 as well. Vettel, of course, doing them all consecutively with 4. Very, very interesting to see what Max Verstappen is doing at the moment in Formula 1. We'll see if he can continue his winning streak in Formula 1 next year in 2024 to continue that consecutive run of championship titles. But this year he has gone pretty much unchecked this entire season. Glad to see in the past few races at least a few more people at least challenging him in the past few races. Well, in qualifying at least, not in the races, but we'll have to wait and see what he's able to do throughout the rest of the season. He could, of course, as we've said in this article, take that championship win at the sprint race in Qatar, but should something happen, it could be relegated to the race on Sunday, but we'll have to wait and see, of course, what does happen out in Qatar. Moving on, though, now to a little bit of an update with the 2026 rules. Formula 1's 2026 rule details emerge, with smaller cars and 40% less downforce. New information about the 2026 Formula 1 regulations have emerged, with plans to take the cars significantly smaller and lighter. 2026 is fast approaching, with the regulations still yet to be formally finalized. However, a report by a reputable German publication, Auto Motor und Sport, has shed light on changes on the chassis side. So far, a lot of the information in the public sphere has been around the new engines. Formula 1's new engine regulation change will take place in 2026, and it seems that Formula 1 plans have appeased the manufacturers, with Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault, Honda, Red Bull and Audi all set to be on the grid. With the automotive industry centered around electric power, it is no surprise to see that the MG UK unit will now be 3 times more powerful than before, moving up from a 120 kilowatt motor to a 350 kilowatt motor generator. On a similar note, the MGU-H has been removed completely for the 2026 rules, allowing for a reduction in costs. They will be run on 100% sustainable fuels, with there being a clear 50-50 split between internal combustion engines and electrical power. Finally, the aim is only for 70 kilograms of fuel in 2026, rather than the 100 kilograms that is currently used in Formula 1. Outlined in the report, the FIA are also heavily focused on making the cars lighter, but also smaller. The current Formula 1 cars weigh an astonishing 798 kilograms, with the new engines and countermeasures expected to take it well above 800. The first step is to reduce the weight by at least 20 kilograms before looking at reducing it further into the regulation cycle. Other changes include the width of the car, reducing to 190 centimeters from 200 centimeters. The wheelbase will also be shortened to at least 340 centimeters, which is currently set at 360 centimeters. Consequently, there will be a 40% loss in downforce from these changes. But of course, as fans, we want to see a reduction in the size of these cars, as well as a reduction in the weight of these cars. This increases the drivability of the cars by the drivers, as well as it increases the competitiveness of these cars and raceability of these cars, which is of course what we want to see as drivers, well, as fans, and I'm sure all of the drivers will also be wanting to have the increased raceability of these cars, because we want to see closer racing between all of the teams. And I think a reduction of aerodynamic efficiency by 40% should also throw a little bit of a span in the works to teams at least, and puts a bit more the drivability and the handling in the hands of the driver, and really makes it down to skill as to who does fight at the top. And I think that could really make things a lot more interesting for the spectacle of Formula 1. Certainly very, very interesting to see all of these regulation changes, and a lot more reports coming out now speaking about it. Hopefully we'll be given a lot more clarification in the upcoming weeks and months by the FIA. But when that does come out, we will be sure to let you know as soon as possible. But Thank you very much, though, for joining me here today on Forever Motorsports. It's been quite a lot of news that we have gone through here today. And yeah, thank you to Orville Clisby and Mark Sparks there in the comment section for keeping me company as we just look at that poll that was set out there. Who do you think Andretti will choose to drive for them in 2025 or 2026? 50% going for Jamie Chadwick. I'd certainly love to have Jamie Chadwick in the sport. Another female Formula One driver would certainly be a great addition on the Formula One grid. Valtteri Bottas with 25% and another 25% going for other. I don't see anyone letting me know in the comment section. Oh, there, I see Mark saying Mick, damn it. So, yeah, we know who Mark is, of course, rooting for there. But nonetheless, thank you very much for joining me here today. I've been Reece here on Forever Motorsports. Please do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, do be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified every time we go live and upload a video for you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Welcome to the Losail International Circuit, home to the Qatar Grand Prix. The Losail International Circuit is a renowned motorsport venue located in the desert landscape of the Losail region. This state-of-the-art circuit is primarily known for hosting Moto GP events and made its debut on the Formula One calendar in 2021. The maiden edition of the Qatar Grand Prix was held on November 21st, 2021, substituting for the cancelled Australian Grand Prix that year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The race saw Lewis Hamilton emerge victorious for Mercedes, securing the top spot on the podium, followed by Red Bull's Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso's Alpine. The 5.4-kilometer Losail circuit has been completely resurfaced since 2021, with a new pit and paddock complex. The circuit is fast and flowing with 16 medium and high-speed corners, as well as no heavy braking zones throughout the track. The main straight is more than 1 kilometer long, which should provide some great overtakes in the sprint race and in the race on Sunday. Watch now as you get taken around a lap of the Losail International Circuit. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula One content, and do be sure to join us for our coverage of the Qatar Grand Prix. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula One season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with BITDEFENDER, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on BITDEFENDER, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, BITDEFENDER, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports, and welcome to another daily Formula 1 news video. A lot to talk about, of course, with our title here today. McLaren sue their driver for $23 million. The Formula 1 team McLaren are suing their driver Alex Palou, a hopeful Formula 1 driver and IndyCar champion, for over $23 million after the Spanish driver backed out over his contract with the motorsport giant. According to the September 29th filing in the High Court of the Justice, Business and Property Courts of England and Wales, Palou has no outstanding obligation under any contract or agreement that would stop him from joining McLaren at the end of the IndyCar season. Palou won the season's IndyCar title by 78 points by his second time in 3 seasons. But McLaren told McLaren this summer that he wouldn't be joining them, sparking a legal battle. The 26-year-old already had been embroiled in one contract battle concerning an agreement to leave Chip Ganassi Racing a year early to join McLaren as an IndyCar and reserve Formula 1 driver, but before a mediation agreement left him able to race for Chip Ganassi Racing but test for McLaren this year. Palou said about his departure from McLaren, "I agree, it is sad," Palou told NBC last month. "I've always tried to be a nice person and I always thought I was doing the right things. That's how my family taught me how to do stuff, and then suddenly I look like I do everything wrong, that I don't listen, and that I just do whatever I feel like on that day." The money McLaren are seeking is reportedly linked to the sponsorship that they had anticipated to bring in, tied to his involvement with the team, as well as the costs involved in developing him for an F1 seat and an advance on his 2024 salary. In a letter sent to the Arrows Racing employees in August, CEO Zak Brown said Palou has no intention of honouring his contract with the Arrow McLaren team for the 2024 season and beyond. "This is incredibly disappointing considering the commitment we have made with him and he has made with us directly and publicly, and the significant investment we have put into him based on that commitment. We've decided and dedicated a lot of money and resources in preparing to welcome Alex into our team because we believed in him, and we were looking forward to achieving IndyCar victories with him. This is certainly sad that Alex Palou has decided to cut ties with McLaren and didn't decide to pursue that career, of course, as a Formula 1 reserve driver with them, as well as heading up their IndyCar team. Certainly McLaren feel that they are right in their fact that they are pursuing a legal stance against him and trying to recuperate all of that money that they feel they've lost from losing that signing with him. Certainly, very, very interesting to see there. F1 23 saying, "This is crazy." It certainly is. I mean, that's a lot of money to sue a driver for. Of course, Alex Palou in his own right should be making quite a lot of money from these deals, but as a team, you don't necessarily anticipate a driver signing with you and then 2-3 months later backing out of that agreement. So they certainly feel that they are justified in the way that they are going about all of this. So we'll have to wait and see what the outcome of this are, as well as we're still waiting to see what the outcome of that legal disagreement or legal proceedings with Felipe Massa are. Moving on to the next article though, speaking about Lando Norris. Lando Norris reiterates commitment to McLaren amid Formula 1 speculation. So with one driver having left the McLaren team, we have another one still saying that he is firmly sticking with them for now. Lando Norris is signed to McLaren for another 2 seasons, but has been linked with a move elsewhere on the grid. Lando Norris has though reaffirmed his commitment to McLaren amid speculation that he could seek a move elsewhere in the future. Norris is currently contracted to the Woking-based squad until the end of the 2025 Formula 1 campaign, with McLaren having been Norris's home since the Briton made his debut in 2019, and the duo have enjoyed moderate success together, with Norris scoring his 10th Formula 1 podium last time out in Japan. Earlier this year, Norris sprouted speculation that he could leave McLaren after admitting he would be open to partnering Max Verstappen in Formula 1. Due to Verstappen's Due to Verstappen's current Red Bull dealing and his deal extending to the end of 2028, it would be likely that Norris would have to leave McLaren for the Milton Keynes outfit. I would want to win with McLaren, he says though, but Norris says that he's focused on finding success with McLaren going forward rather than jumping ship to a new team. There are always things every now and then, he told media. I would love to talk about a new McLaren deal. I've always said I want to win with McLaren. I think we're getting closer and closer to achieving that as well. And we're not just winning races, but winning championships with both driver and constructor. I want to do it with McLaren, and I'm very, very happy here. So if I was to spend 10 or 15 years there, I'm not ever going to say no. I think that's something I would look forward to, but I'm very much just concentrated on this year, next year, and 2025, when his contract does end. I think that's 2.5 years to try and progress, and we'll see then. But things crop up every now and then, but nothing more than that. Certainly, Lando Norris has really been bringing the team up. They've made massive gains in the last few years. Certainly this year, they weren't looking like they were competitive at the beginning of the season, but they've just really been able to develop that car in the right way, and they've been able to challenge for podiums, challenge for wins at some tracks. I mean, Singapore, they got so close with the Ferraris, of course, not being able to challenge with Carlos Sainz there, unfortunately, but still having a great race there to secure a second place podium finish. And once again, having another, well, not even just a podium finish in Japan, they had a double podium finish in Japan. So once again, phenomenal for the Woking-based outfit. They certainly are doing really well with Lando Norris, and they'll be wanting to hold on to him for the future. But if they're not able to put pen to paper quite soon, I think the likes of Red Bull are going to look to steal him away, because they have really been looking for him in the past few years. They tried to get him to put pen to paper a few years ago. Unfortunately, McLaren quickly swooped Lando Norris away again with another contract extension, but Red Bull are certainly not going to want to make that mistake again now, seeing how competitive he's been so far this year. And yeah, he's been really doing quite well. Of course, Oscar Piastri has also been doing quite well at the moment. He's extended his contract as well to 2026. But yeah, I think they've got a really strong driver lineup in that team. Disappointing that they've lost that strong reserve driver of Alex Palou. He could have also been a great driver for the future, but unfortunate that he has gone and signed away from his McLaren deal. Moving on though now to Aston Martin, we have a few articles speaking about them, and we'll move on to this first one. Aston Martin's Le Mans plan can solve its Formula 1 driver issues. Aston Martin's commitment to a top-level sports car racing program that will utilize technology campus of its Formula 1 team offers a potentially neat solution for that very F1 team. There's no initial word on who will drive its Valkyrie AMR Pro at the Le Mans 24-hour in the World Endurance Championship at the IMSA Series in the United States, but one of the seats could be a convenient soft landing for current Aston Martin driver Lance Stroll. As the son of Aston Martin chairman Lawrence Stroll, Lance is unlikely to be hurried out of the exit door at the Formula 1 team anytime soon. But the reality of Formula 1 means that Stroll's seat could be permanently guaranteed, just because it is part of his father's project. Formula 1 is meant to be a meritocracy. Aston Martin has grand ambitions, and it has produced a very capable car this season. It is one of the top 10 best teams in Formula 1, and there's no good performance-based argument for Stroll to take up one of those seats right now. Being overhauled by McLaren's rookie driver Oscar Piastri in the points after the Japanese Grand Prix means Stroll is now the worst performing driver of the top 5 teams in the championship, and is in danger of not even finishing in the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship, of course, which, as an aside, would mark his best finish in Formula 1. That's embarrassing. Team leader and double world champion Fernando Alonso is an almighty benchmark for any driver, but Lance Stroll has measured up poorly. Even factoring in his injury at the start of the season and the bad luck that he has definitely intervened at times this year, his qualifying performances have not been good enough, often setting him up for more difficult Sundays, and his points fall short, costing McLaren or costing Aston Martin anywhere from 1 to 3 places in the Constructors' Championship. It is clear in Aston Martin's interest to replace Stroll with a driver who can produce a higher output would be necessary. Maybe there is now a path to doing that. Stroll would be a very good driver to have in the mix for a fully fledged Aston Martin Works program outside of Formula 1, as he has plenty of detractors, but he is also clearly talented. Regardless of the privileged opportunities afforded, you don't win junior categories, score a podium in your rookie season, produce somewhat star-wet weather qualifying performances, and consistently show superb instinct racing other cars on opening laps without having some innate ability. There have been some question marks over his commitment, whether he really wants to be in Formula 1, and how much he actually cares about this since his first season. Such speculation can be quite unfair. Who knows really what Stroll's motivation is and how dedicated he is to being a Formula 1 driver. But there must be some underlying devotion to the craft. If you ever think about him talking passionately about safety standards in karting or in junior categories, you would not accuse him of not caring about racing. And to do what he did at the start of the year, racing so soon, after what was clearly a severe set of injuries, took serious determination, not just to compete, but to perform in a way that took to be his most impressive display in Formula 1. Being a good driver who likes racing isn't enough though to be at the top of Formula 1, because what Stroll isn't is a world beater, and he's not showing any signs that he will become one. At 24, he has time on his side. Only 6 drivers have raced in Formula 1 that are younger this year, but his early arrival means he has been around for quite some time. He is not a third or fourth year with some rough edges to smoothen out. He's a 7th year driver, and in terms of numbers of starts, he's the 10th most experienced driver on the grid right now. It is not impossible, but this year so far in his Formula 1 career, it seems unlikely that he is going to make some kind of step that turns into anything more than a lower midfield driver capable of some high peaks. Stroll certainly yet to show that he can be Aston Martin's equivalent of the young, exciting drivers that are underpinning so many rival projects, with the likes of Max Verstappen at Red Bull, Lando Norris at McLaren, Charles Leclerc at Ferrari, and George Russell at Mercedes. For a while though, he didn't need to be. Aston Martin's rapid progress meant that it already had outgrown what he offered. That's nothing to be sniffed at though. Even lesser performing Formula 1 drivers are very good racing drivers, and clearly he is not a hapless one. If he wanted to, and if it was viable given the familial ties that he has to Aston Martin, he could make a serviceable contribution to Formula 1 for longer or a lesser team. But this is not the caliber that fits Aston Martin's Formula 1 ambitions. Ultimately, drivers are not hounded out of Formula 1 if they are not good enough. Their time and options just expire. For Aston Martin to maximise its potential, it needs to explore other alternatives for a highly coveted seat. The awkward part though was that the family ties meant that Stroll was not a normal, underperforming second driver. Having a viable alternative in the family business is an obvious potential way around that. There will soon be a high-profile Aston Martin project where big wins and a chance to become world champion is in another discipline which surely appeal for Stroll, satisfying what desire he has to keep for racing and save face for all involved. Certainly a big topic here about Lance Stroll and Aston Martin. I mean, a lot of people have been calling for Lance Stroll to leave Formula 1 and give that seat to someone else. I'm going to ask all of you in the poll right now, do you want Lance Stroll to leave F1? Just fix my spelling there. And that's up live now, so you can all vote and let me know your opinions on what you think about Lance Stroll. Do you want him to leave? Do you think that he should go? And I'm going to talk to you now, of course, about that Aston Martin hypercar project that they are running for Le Mans. But do you think that Lance Stroll should pursue other opportunities and just go across to the Le Mans project, just leave Formula 1 alone? He's kind of lost his opportunity, unfortunately. He hasn't proven himself at all. He really just needs to kind of make things a bit better for himself by maybe stepping out of Formula One and maybe saving face, as the article says, of course. But yeah, we'll move on though to that article now about Aston Martin's hypercar project. Here it is. Now, Aston Martin confirmed a hypercar project as Aston Martin will take to the forefront of sports car racing as it confirms its Valkyrie entry. Aston Martin has confirmed that it will contest the 2025 World Endurance Championship and WeatherTech Sports Car Championships with the Valkyrie Le Mans hypercar project. The British manufacturer expanded into Formula One in 2021 after competing in World Endurance Championship for several years in the GT categories. However, now will step into the highest level of motorsport racing by fielding a hypercar which will compete at the 24-hour of Le Mans. The Valkyrie, which is a road car version, was designed by Red Bull Chief Technical Officer Adrian Newey. The project will be backed by Aston Martin's championship winning endurance racing partner, Heart of Racing. Performance is the lifeblood of everything that we do at Aston Martin, and motorsport is the ultimate expression of this pursuit of excellence, said Lawrence Stroll, chairman of Aston Martin. We've been present at Le Mans since the earliest days, and through these glorious endeavours, we succeed in winning Le Mans in 1959, and our class 19 times over the past 95 years. Now we return to the scene of the first triumphs, aiming to write new history with a racing prototype, inspired by the fastest production car Aston Martin has ever built. Certainly very exciting to see that Aston Martin are venturing into the Le Mans hypercar project and hypercar category with their Valkyrie project. It's going to be very interesting to see whether they're going to be competitive. Whether we'll see Aston Martin just getting rid of Lance Stroll, pushing him into that hypercar project, we'll have to wait and see. I think that would be maybe a bit of a better option to do with Lance Stroll. He hasn't been anything spectacular, unfortunately, in Formula One since his debut. He's had a few standout moments, but nothing necessarily too crazy that we can think of over the years. And it's disappointing because he had a great junior category career, but it really did not carry over that momentum into Formula One, as I think there's just too much competition, and he might just be better suited to another category in some other form of motorsport. And his dad has another team in Le Mans, so why not pursue that instead? Moving over to one more article about Aston Martin here, as Aston Martin accepts their Formula One rivals did a stronger job developing their 2023 cars. Aston Martin has said it has had to accept that their Formula One rival teams did a stronger job in the 2023 development, as it continues to slip back in 2023. Aston Martin came flying out of the gates in Bahrain, with its lead driver Fernando Alonso racking up 5 podiums in the first 5 races. But over the summer, the ongoing got tougher for the Silverstone squad, with it especially slipping back on mixed corner circuits, where aerodynamic efficiency comes at a premium, as Alonso was restricted to just one more podium in the last 8 races. In the meantime, it has also lost touch with Mercedes in the constructors' table, and is instead looking over its shoulder at the resurgent McLaren team. Aston Martin's performance director Tom McCullough admitted that the team has not developed as strongly as it hoped, and that rival teams who started the season on the back foot have done a better job of catching up. There are definitely some teams at the start of the year who were underperforming, he said, who were taking a step back. We knew that they'd get back on top of that, most notably McLaren and Mercedes. At the start of the year, we were a little bit surprised to be second or third we were a little bit surprised to be the second or third fastest team, but the margins between the second, third and fourth fastest teams were always very small. And we were always aware that it doesn't take much to fall to the back of the pack. And then just from the pure development race, bringing bits to the car, making the car quicker, it was a relative game. Some teams have been doing a stronger job than we have. We have to accept that. We obviously hoped to develop the car stronger than we've ended up developing so far. The team has also repeatedly stated that technical directives introduced in Singapore were not a contributing factor in its downturn in form. But the squad now feels it has a good understanding of its weaknesses, so it can deliver a 2024 car that is more efficient and can be more competitive on circuits that combine several downforce requirements with straight line speed and low speed handling. The technical directives that was introduced in Singapore has had no impact on our performance. I don't think they're significant. For us, it's more track characteristics and base development race that we're sort of fighting with. There are certain characteristics of our car that we understood right from the first test and race, the strengths and weaknesses of the car, and we've been trying to address those areas that we're not as competitive in. Our job is to try and make the car quick on all 23 circuits, and we've still got plenty of work to do for that. Aerodynamically, we've had a good understanding of how the car's performing through the ride height and speed ranges. And we know areas that we want to improve in, so that process is ongoing, and we still have a few more bits coming this year to help with that understanding. Aston particularly struggled in Japan, where Alonso battled to 8th place, 1 minute and 14 seconds behind the winner Max Verstappen, and teammate Lance Stroll retiring with a broken rear wing. But the team is expecting its form to pick up this weekend in the race in Qatar, as Losail's high downforce circuit doesn't emphasize aerodynamic efficiency as much as Suzuka did. Qatar is quite different in the way that it's predominantly high-speed corners, and the efficiency of the cars are not as important, so you'll be up on the rear wing level, McCullough explained. One of the things we were struggling with in Japan is being competitive in both high-speed corners and low-speed corners, as well in the straight lines. Qatar is very different in that aspect. Yes, there are cars that are faster in high-speed corners, so they'll be fast, but hopefully we can be a bit more competitive. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with BITDEFENDER, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on BITDEFENDER, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, BITDEFENDER, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. We're certainly hoping to see the Aston Martins becoming a little bit more competitive. They seem to have fallen back in the last couple of races after the summer break. As this article has gone and said, it's been a bit disappointing because off the back of the first half of the season, we were really hoping that they would be able to continue that momentum going into the second half of the season and really continue to fight with the Mercedes in terms of the Constructors' Championship. They were all fighting for second place, and Mercedes has now pretty comfortably taken that away from them. It's disappointing, but it is what happens in Formula 1. The development game is just so competitive, especially in the second half of the season, where possibly some teams are coming up on their cost cap limit. Other teams have been a little bit more careful, a little bit more wary of spending all of those cost cap budgets and where to spend those budgets. But we're seeing that these teams are just having to learn how to use their development game and where to plan it for the rest of the season. It's certainly helping with a 23 race season. We're getting a bit of a trial run this year for a lot of the teams so that they know when to bring different development upgrades for the next season and which tracks are more important to bring upgrades for. I'm sure that they will all be learning a lot more about that now. But yeah, very interesting here for the wrap up of today's show. Just having a look there in the comment section one more time at that poll for Lance Stroll. 75% now saying that they would like Lance Stroll to leave Formula 1, as we have a whole bunch of you guys in the chat and the stream at the moment. Please do be sure to drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Always great to have so many of you watching. But yes, thank you very much. That has been it for me here today with all of the Formula 1 and motorsport news on Forever Motorsport. Please do be sure to stick around. We'll be taking you straight through to our Formula 1 stream for tomorrow, so you can go and like that video and you can click the notification button there so you'll be notified when we do go live for the FP1 session for Formula 1 tomorrow. Of course, it is a race weekend, and we have the Qatar Grand Prix taking place. We have free practice 1 tomorrow. I think it's at 12:30 our time. And then there is, of course, qualifying for the race on Sunday as well tomorrow afternoon. Then there's the sprint qualifying on Saturday morning, the sprint race on Saturday afternoon. And then, of course, on Sunday, the main event, the race there in Qatar. But that has been it from me here today. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with BITDEFENDER, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on BITDEFENDER, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, BITDEFENDER, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. The Qatar Grand Prix Sprint is Max Verstappen's first chance to wrap up his third straight World Championship. He is 177 points clear of Sergio Perez with 180 left on the board for the rest of the championship season, meaning a 6th place finish on Sunday at Losail will be enough to ensure that the trophy stays on top his drinks fridge by his sim rig for another year. When Verstappen does win the title, he will become the 11th driver to win 3 or more titles, and the 6th to be a triple world champion. On the current list of those he can match, it includes his father-in-law, as well as Sir Jackie Stewart and Ayrton Senna. Not bad company at all then. Of course, some drivers have gone beyond the magical 3-time threshold, and interestingly, they all but one have something in common with Verstappen. The drivers listed below, with the exception of Alain Prost, have all won 3 or more titles in a row, with Michael Schumacher's 5 with Ferrari the all-time record. Of course, there's 7 titles with Schumacher, Hamilton with 7, Fangio with 5, Prost with 4, and Vettel with 4 as well. Interesting to see what Max Verstappen is doing at the moment in Formula 1. We'll see if he can continue his winning streak in Formula 1 next year in 2024 to continue that consecutive run of championship titles, but this year he has gone pretty much unchecked this entire season. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with BITDEFENDER, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on BITDEFENDER, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, BITDEFENDER, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. This is a major talking point which we've been talking about in the last coming weeks and months. There's been a lot of videos on this channel speaking about it. And now the FIA have officially approved the Andretti Cadillac team's bid for a new team to join the Formula 1 grid. A new team could be joining Formula 1 in the near future after the governing body has approved one applicant following a rigorous process. The FIA has granted approval for a new team to join Formula 1, opening the potential for the grid to expand beyond 20 cars. Following months of deliberation, the application of Andretti Formula Racing has been approved after a comprehensive application process. Earlier this year, the FIA opened the formal applications process for new teams to join the Formula 1 grid as early as 2025. 1 year before the new technical regulations come into play. Formula 1 has existed with 10 teams since the 2017 season, with Haas being the last squad to set up in the paddock. Last year, Andretti Global announced its plans to join Formula 1 in the future and confirmed a tie-up with Cadillac in January, which would see a major car brand arrive on the grid with it should it be successful. Andretti fields successful teams in the NTT IndyCar series as well as the all-electric Formula E category. As part of its increased investment into motorsport, Andretti showcased plans to build a brand new racing headquarters in Fishers, Indiana. This established their progress along with 3 other applicants to phase 2 of the process, which assessed them on their sporting and technical capabilities. The ability of the team to raise and maintain sufficient funding to allow participation in the championship at a competitive level, and the team's experience and human resources. With the FIA's approval, a decision now must be made by Formula 1 itself, with the governing body confirming that its findings have been passed on to the Formula 1 management for commercial discussions. Andretti have been reportedly the only team to fulfill the selected criteria. FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem said, "The FIA was very clear in establishing stringent criteria for their entry from the outset of the expressions on interest procedure. Our objective after rigorous due diligence during the application process was to only approve prospective entries which satisfied the set criteria and illustrated that they would add value to the sport. The FIA is obliged to approve applications that comply with the expressions of interest application requirements, and we have adhered to the procedure in deciding that Andretti Formula Racing LLC's application would proceed to the next stage of that application process. In taking that decision, the FIA is acting in accordance with EU directives on motorsport participation and development. Andretti Formula Racing was the only entity which fulfills the selection criteria that was set in all material aspects. and congratulate Michael Andretti and his team on a thorough submission. I also want to thank all prospective teams for their interest and participation. The expressions of interest process builds up on positive acceptance of the FIA's 2026 Formula 1 power unit regulations among existing OEMs, which has already attracted further commitment from Audi, Honda and Ford, and interest from Porsche and General Motors. I would like to thank all of the FIA team members involved in the expressions of interest process for their tireless efforts ensuring a diligent assessment of the FIA team applications received. So, very exciting to see that the FIA has approved Andretti's bid to join Formula 1 in 2025. Whether Formula 1 management will approve that, though, we will have to wait and see. There's a lot that does now have to happen before they can be admitted onto the Formula 1 grid. The Concord agreement with all of the teams would have to be redrawn because, of course, the teams don't really want their funds diluted with a new team being brought into the sport. It's also been rumoured that a new team would have to pay a dilution fee of about, I think it's $200 million a year to not allow the rest of the teams to lose any money from the winnings pot at the end of the season. So it's really a lot of politics that are still involved, a lot of behind the scenes talking and as I said, politics still with the FIA and Formula 1 group. Liberty Media might still not be all too happy to admit another team onto the Formula 1 grid. We'll have to wait and see though what does happen. The Alpine Formula 1 CEO reveals his plan to fix a huge amount of internal issues. The Alpine CEO, Luca Di Maio, has outlined a clear plan to address significant problems within his Formula 1 team. The French outfit began the latest regulation changes in a reasonable fashion last year, establishing themselves as the best of the rest. Despite reliability presenting itself as a clear weakness, Alpine had a strong foundation to build upon for 2023. However, the team's aspirations to fight at the front failed to materialize over the winter break. From day one in pre-season, the A523 proved to be relatively uncompetitive. Despite the quiet confidence shown by Otmar Safnauer in interviews, there were few signs that Alpine would be world beaters in Bahrain. Pierre Gasly's P9 finish was a strong recovery from qualifying, validating the early consensus. Still, later events in Australia and Miami provided some optimism for the team, and that they could pull themselves somehow up the field. Under certain conditions, the French team was capable of giving the likes of Aston Martin something to worry about. Although a fantastic weekend in Monaco provided further encouragement, the A523 has shown little promise since then. Whilst the car is relatively compliant in terms of handling, it lacks the performance to compete for major honours. With Ocon and Gasly having both managed exceptional podiums in 2023, but these have been anomalies in the results. Furthermore, the mid-season development at McLaren has served as a magnifying glass for the lack of progress at Enstone. However, despite the reality of Alpine's situation, it was only 18 months ago that CEO Laurent Rossi outlined the team's 5-year plan. The team's high-ranking personnel all seemed convinced that this timeline was appropriate. Therefore, Alpine's pace this year shouldn't have triggered any significant alarm within the squad, at least in theory. As the first races were completed, however, internal frustrations soon began to surface. Laurent Rossi began the 2023 campaign with a series of criticisms towards the team. The Frenchman then listed a variety of grievances, seemingly dissatisfied with the team's progress. In response, albeit via interactions with the media, team principal Otmar Safnauer made clear that success in Formula 1 cannot be rushed. Evidently, there were internal disagreements. Not too long after this exchange, during the Belgium Grand Prix weekend, the dismissal of Safnauer and Permain was announced. Whilst there were clear elements of confusion and uncertainty, one thing soon became clear. The widely discussed 5-year plan was no longer viable. Luca Di Maio and the other senior personnel at Alpine have set goals for more immediate success though. In a speech given at Enstone, broadcast in the factory as well in Vieri, Di Maio outlined a series of changes. A range of topics were discussed by the Renault CEO. Di Maio had made things clear that the old ways of thinking will no longer be tolerated in the team, and Alpine will be working towards a fresh approach and increased collaboration between the Enstone team and the Viral team as well, as previously there have been instances of clear division between the English and French departments in the team. An example of this tension takes place during race weekends, where the team's English and French personnel have been known to book separate hotels. At a constructor that manufactures its own engines, this lack of chemistry is detrimental. Alpine has received plenty of criticism for the unreliability of their engines as well, especially during the 2022 season. In addition to reliability, the French power unit provides less horsepower than Mercedes, Honda, or their Ferrari counterparts. However, it is no secret that Alpine has deficiencies in various areas. Excuses are also becoming increasingly difficult to accept in modern Formula 1, as proven by Aston Martin and McLaren. Internal cohesion and innovation will be rewarded out on track. So really interesting to hear all of this coming out about Alpine this year. Well, I didn't necessarily know about all of these internal struggles and internal divisions between the team. And it's certainly very interesting to hear about the fact that the English department and the French department don't get along well, and for them to even book separate hotels is completely unheard of in Formula 1. Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with BITDEFENDER, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on BITDEFENDER, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, BITDEFENDER, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to the second session that we're doing here today for the review of the Qatar Grand Prix FP1. So what a session that was. Certainly a very interesting one there, with Max Verstappen topping the leaderboard out in the session. We saw, though, as drivers made their way around the track for the first session, it was really quite dusty out there on circuit, and they really struggled for lap time until the track really started to evolve in the last few hours of light out in Qatar at this Losail International Circuit. It's been a very interesting session, of course, with, as I said, Max Verstappen taking that top spot on a set of on a set of softs with a 1:27.428. Something that was really catching out all the drivers, though, around this circuit will certainly be track limits, and it's something that we're going to have to look at for this session this evening, with, of course, the track limits going to make a massive difference in the qualifying. Of course, as I say, later this evening, it's going to be quite difficult for drivers. We had a lot of wind gusts that were pushing over the track limits, and if you go over the track limits, you're going to have your track time deleted, so you have to be quite careful with that, though. To make our way through the top 20, we had Max Verstappen finishing in P1, Carlos Sainz in P2, Charles Leclerc then in P3. Fernando Alonso made his way into P4, with Sergio Perez finishing quite a bit behind his teammate in P5 with a 1:28.017. Max Verstappen, of course, with a 1:27.4. We then had Yuki Tsunoda in P6, Nico Hülkenberg P7th, Russell in 8th, Piastri 9th, Lando Norris finishing in 10th, behind his teammate, Piastri having a great day out here in Qatar. Then we had Sargent in P11 ahead of his teammate, Alex Albon, Lewis Hamilton 13th, Stroll in 14th, Esteban Ocon in 15th, Pierre Gasly in 16th, Bottas in 17th, Zhou in 18th, and Lawson 19th, with Kevin Magnussen all the way at the bottom of the grid down in P20. Well, it was a very interesting session, and yeah, we certainly are looking forward to this qualifying session later this evening. I think that we have a very competitive Mercedes car, especially for the race on Sunday. Their car was looking extremely fast on the set of soft, or not set of softs, the set of hards that they ran for the majority of the session while it was still sunny out here. Of course, it's difficult to know if you can take what you saw in this FP1 session seriously, because all of our sessions that are going to be taking place throughout the rest of this race weekend are going to be at night.
Of course, the sprint shootout tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon will be around the same time as this. But yeah, you can't really take what you're going to see that we saw in these free practice 1 sessions into the race, because the temperature is going to be so much lower, the degradation is going to be so much lower, and I think we're going to see some really competitive Mercedes, maybe some competitive Ferraris, as they now have gotten to the bottom of their degradation issues on Ferrari. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what does happen. That has been it from me, though, here. Very, very exciting to get ahead of this qualifying session later this evening. I'm certainly hoping that all of you will join us for that session, and we really are excited to seeing you there. But that has been it from me here on Forever Motorsports. We're going to take you to our build-up package now ahead of the qualifying session here in Qatar. Do be sure to stick around, and we will see you in about just under 2 hours' time. Very excited to get going for that, but thanks again for watching here with me. I've been Reece. Cheers. Yes, and we are going to start this review session now of the Qatar Grand Prix qualifying, and what a session it was. Quite competitive there near the end, but Max Verstappen once again in a league of his own on a weekend where he can take the World Championship in the sprint race tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, of course. So this qualifying session is for Sunday's race. We'll have the sprint shootout for that sprint race tomorrow as well, so be sure to join us on the channel for that. Going through our top 10 from Q3 there that we've just finished there. Max Verstappen tops with a 123.7. Norris in second, Russell third, Piastri fourth, Hamilton fifth, Alonso 6th. All Mercedes-powered cars from 2 to 6. Then Leclerc and the Ferrari in 7th, Gasly in 8th, Ocon 9th, and Bottas in 10. Our bottom 10, Reece.
Our bottom 10 then, Mark, are made up of Yuki Tsunoda, Carlos Sainz in P12, Sergio Perez not having a great day at all. I think he had his last lap time deleted as well to even make his day just that little bit worse. Alex Albon finishes in P14, not the greatest qualifying session we've seen from him at a high-speed track. But nonetheless, he's down in P14, Hülkenberg P15, Logan Sargent 16th, Stroll in 17th, Lawson 18th, Magnussen on his birthday down in P19, and Zhou Guanyu all the way down in P20.
Indeed, and yeah, so we've got a bit of news from that session. We'll go through it, of course, but Q1 finished with the bottom 5 being Zhou, Magnussen, Lawson, Stroll, and Sargent. Those were the ones eliminated. Now, when Stroll got out of his car, there were a bit of arguments had with his trainer as he got out. He got out in a very infuriating manner. His trainer was pointing at him like this. He more or less pushes his trainer aside, goes around the back. This trainer keeps following him, and then we see just at the edge of the camera angle, literally shoves his trainer out the way, goes and does an interview, swears in his interview, one-word answers in an interview. Not a happy man in that Aston Martin car. So really, really big problems there for Aston Martin and Lance Stroll with regards to what happened in today's session. Of course, that's the opposite to his fellow teammate, who finished up in 6th and is looking relatively happy about the day.
Yes, just speaking about those top 5 finishes there, Lando Norris having a great day out there, still not able to match that time of Max Verstappen's with a 123.778. Still quite far off, though, of the track lap record around the circuit, being a 120 point something set by Lewis Hamilton in 2021, the inaugural race around here. Yeah, Lando Norris having a good day, though, nonetheless. George Russell in that other Mercedes-powered car down in P3. Piastri in P4, brilliant day for him. Hamilton in P5, he wasn't able to improve on his lap time. He was looking like he could have been able to take pole. In Q2, he set the fastest time in that session. But, yeah, disappointing there for him. We saw the replay as to why he wasn't able to improve on his lap time. In the first sector, he had a massive snap of oversteer, possibly caused by a gust of wind. Yeah, disappointing for him, but he gets outperformed by his teammate once again for a race weekend. Looking at our poll that we ran here at the end of the session, who will top Q3? And you guys all said
Verstappen, and indeed you were correct. Hamilton got 29% of the votes. He only finished in 4th, and Norris, of course.
No, Lando Norris has had his lap time deleted for track limits at turn 10. This has just come through now. Lando Norris has had his lap time deleted. He will start from P10.
Oh,
that's horrific for Lando Norris.
So now we have Russell on the front of the grid next to Verstappen. Sorry, that's just come in now as we're doing this. So Verstappen first, Russell second, Piastri third, Hamilton 4th, Alonso 5th. So we're going to see Norris down in 10th. Very, very unfortunate for him. And he was going to get interviewed, but then they had to pretty much shove him away because
he's still there waiting. He's about to be told. He's just been told.
No, that's Piastri.
No, that's Lando Norris there sitting. He's just been told by the FIA
yes, indeed. No,
person that he's been eliminate for
Very,
his
very
for his track
unfortunate.
limits. That
Very
is so
unfortunate.
disappointing for Lando Norris. That would have been such an exciting race tomorrow. But now we have Oscar Piastri in the middle of those two Mercedes cars.
Yeah, indeed. So, very disappointing day for Ferrari as well. Charles Leclerc down in 6th and Sainz in 12th. They were really struggling with the wind, the car being pushed around a lot more than the rest, and also sand became a big thing. So, Q2, we did see Hamilton top the tables there, but in Q3, yeah, Max Verstappen, as he should, well, not as he should, but as he has always done this season, finishing up there in first. So, a great race we've got set for us on Sunday, although I think it will be a pretty much pointless race. Max Verstappen, he might well win the driver championship tomorrow in the sprint race, should he win that. Or otherwise, actually, there's not much that he has to do to try and get it. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens tomorrow. But, of course, on Sunday, who will come second, essentially, is going to be my question, because that is going to be very interesting for the driver championship. His teammate, Perez, all the way down in 13th. Lots of people querying whether or not he should be in that car seat still. Same as Lance Stroll, of course. Those are the big things we were talking about. So, nonetheless, it's great to have you guys all joining us here on Forever Motorsports. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Reece, any final comments from that session?
Well, just really looking forward to the sprint qualifying session tomorrow afternoon, as well as that sprint race as well. Well, that is also taking place tomorrow afternoon. Do be sure to join us for both of those sessions. It's going to be a very, very exciting race weekend. Welcome to the Losail International Circuit, home to the Qatar Grand Prix. The Losail International Circuit is a renowned motorsport venue located in the desert landscape of the Losail region. This state-of-the-art circuit is primarily known for hosting Moto GP events and made its debut on the Formula 1 calendar in 2021. The maiden edition of the Qatar Grand Prix was held on November 21st, 2021, substituting for the cancelled Australian Grand Prix that year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The race saw Lewis Hamilton emerge victorious for Mercedes, securing the top spot on the podium, followed by Red Bull's Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso's Alpine. The 5.4-kilometer Losail circuit has been completely resurfaced since 2021, with a new pit and paddock complex. The circuit is fast and flowing with 16 medium and high-speed corners, as well as no heavy braking zones throughout the track. The main straight is more than 1 kilometer long, which should provide some great overtakes in the sprint race and in the race on Sunday. Watch now as you get taken around a lap of the Losail International Circuit. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula 1 content, and do be sure to join us for our coverage of the Qatar Grand Prix. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for the Sprint Shootout here in Qatar, and quite an exciting event that we have taking place here this afternoon. But before we do get into that sprint shootout this afternoon, we do just have to wait for a familiarization session for these drivers, as the FIA have come out and said that they overnight, when looking at the tires with Pirelli, have discovered some really significant degradation, especially on the sidewalls of these tires, which can cause major issues in the race on Sunday. Of course, in 2021, we also had here at the circuit tire failures, and we do not want to have that again. I see my green screen is going out of whack there. I'm going to fix it up for you. Let me just turn that off and redo it. But yeah, it's really interesting to see that we have such high tire degradation here at a circuit where they've completely redone the track surface. We thought that they may have sorted out those issues that we had here in the past, but clearly not, because they have now, instead of changing the curbs, because it seems that it's the curbs that are causing that massive amount of tire degradation and the amount of wear that they're seeing on those sidewalls of the tires, which could cause that tire failures. We're waiting to of course, get the session underway now. We're going to have a 10-minute familiarization period, a 10-minute practice session essentially for these drivers. Then we'll have a 10-minute break, and then that sprint shootout will start at 20 past 4 o'clock track time, 20 past 3 here in South Africa. We still have another 8 minutes left on the clock to get going, or 7 minutes and 40 seconds as my timer says there. 7 minutes and 40 seconds left on the timer until that practice session does get underway. Really interesting to see though what they've done this session, and the reason for those extra 10 minutes of practice is because of the fact that they've not been able to change the curbs, but what they've done instead as a temporary solution is they've painted on extra bits of curbing onto the actual track surface, which means that the drivers don't actually end up putting as much of their car onto those aggressive curbs, because also the way that the curbs work here is that the first half meter or so of that curb is smooth, and then it starts to get rougher and more aggressive from then onwards, which is what is causing that massive amount of degradation to those tires. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. Shane Marsh clearly still watching in the mid-2000s saying go Maldonado. I don't know where you've been, Shane. Maybe you've taken a time machine and are watching from mid-2000s, but nonetheless, glad to have you here in our stream. We have currently 40 or 52 of you watching alongside with us, but only 28 likes on this stream as of now. So please do be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you do enjoy all of the Formula One content that we are putting out for you guys. We do a lot of live videos throughout the week, as well as daily live Formula One news videos, and as well motorsports content when it does come out. Just watching all these drivers now making their way into the pits to get ready to get into their vehicles. And a big talking point from yesterday was certainly Lance Stroll. The way that he carried himself in qualifying was not what we want to see in Formula One. It was really quite embarrassing for himself and for the team. He not only embarrassed himself, but he has also possibly caused damages to his car. He threw his 20,000 pound steering wheel out of the car because he was so frustrated. He apparently also ended up scratching the paint of the car, which means they'd have to change out that component, because if you have minor scratches in the car, that means aerodynamic inefficiencies. So it would not be preferred to have that. But yeah, a lot of people as well getting very upset on social media with at Lance Stroll, with the way that he pushed his trainer out the way there in that session. Yeah, there was just shots of him shoving him in the pit box there in Aston Martin, and really just childish behavior from Lance Stroll. And I don't think we as fans necessarily want to see him in the sport too much longer with the way that he's currently acting. It's, as I said, childish and just completely uncalled for in Formula One. Of course, we don't want to see drivers shoving their trainers and engineers out the way. I understand that you get frustrated, but as a Formula One driver on camera, there's a certain way that you have to hold yourself, and you're also representing not only your team but a whole bunch of sponsors as well. So Aston Martin really going to have to do a lot of fixing in their team right now to try and get their image back up to where it used to be. We do have now these the
the Formula One titles running here as we get ready to go here in Qatar for this practice session ahead of the Sprint Shootout. If you've just joined me, thank you very much for joining me here on Forever Motorsports. Please do be sure to like the video. As Old Man Rue there said hello in the comment section. Very glad to have you here with us. And Couch says, come on Magnussen, once again giving their support for K-Mag here today. Let's see what he can do out here. He didn't have the greatest qualifying session yesterday, only finishing down in 19th. Maybe today in the Sprint Shootout he can have a little bit better of an afternoon. Yes, it's going to be an interesting one here today. It is looking very, very hot out here in the Qatar sun. We're still seeing these replays of the new curbs being painted onto the track. As Old Man Roo says, watching from Australia, yeah, glad to see that you're here watching with us. And Ray Doe also saying hello here. So for all of you just joining us now, and wondering why we've got that extra 10 minutes of practice session, if you can see there in that pinned comment, I put up that little bit of breaking news. It is because the track has been adjusted for this next session. As Raider Bro says, so we're going to have a practice session first? Yes, as I'm going to explain to you now, because they have made these changes to the track, they've painted on an extra half a meter pretty much around the entirety of the circuit. They've extended the track by about half a meter to address the fact that overnight Pirelli, when they were looking at the tyres from FP1 and the qualifying session in the evening, noticed quite a lot of degradation, and that's not even doing long runs, which is quite concerning. So they've now, to address those issues, painted an extra half a meter onto the circuit, painted an extra half a meter onto each of those curbs so that the drivers don't go over those aggressive curbs, and essentially they are closing down the radius in a lot of those corners. And now, because of those changes, they have to allow the drivers at least 10 minutes, which is what they've given them in the session. They've given them 10 minutes to get familiar with these new track layouts, with the new tighter corners essentially as well. And yeah, they're going to have 10 minutes to get to grips with it before the next session gets underway at 4:20 track time. 3:20 here in South Africa. We now have 1 minute and 45 seconds left to get going though before the session does get underway. As I see we have one of our regulars, Rod Shepherd, joining us in the comment section. Thank you very much for joining us, Rod. As I see now we are over 107 viewers all joining us, as now all of those cars are venturing out onto the circuit. I'm going to quickly remove this timer for you guys, this countdown text, so I can adjust it for this session. We're seeing Lewis Hamilton prepping his car to do a practice start. We've got Kevin Magnussen, though, all the way at the end of the pit lane. We're going to expect essentially everyone to get out there as soon as possible, because you don't want to get caught out now with this little practice session, getting to grips with this track that has been changed. And yeah, it's difficult for them now. As Mark there says in the comment section, he'll be joining us shortly. He is just on the other side of my screen, just busy running some other things here behind the scenes for you guys and for one of our other channels. Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what's going to happen in this session. Let's just get this fixed. Let's do a countdown for you guys. Yeah, just doing some maths here as I look to start this here. Cool, that should be ready to get going now once the session does get underway. All of the cars now waiting at the end of the pit lane, still with a minute to go though for the session to get underway, and I'm now going to make that live. I should probably stop that timer because it hasn't started just yet. As I transition that across now, you guys can all see that live. There's a long queue waiting at the end of the pit lane. Pretty much every single car is out there waiting for the session to start, as it does now get the green light out there in Qatar. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting little session because, of course, as I said, everyone now is going out there because there's an extra practice session, essentially. I don't even know if our timing boards will work because of the fact that there wasn't a planned session to go ahead. Now, as Kaj says, watching from Thailand there, great to have you alongside with us. Just watching these few first cars going around out on circuit as I reset our timing board now. Yeah, let's see what people are going to be able to do. It's going to be an interesting little session, as I said, because we didn't expect to get this extra little practice session today, as we have Kevin Magnussen, the first of the runners out there on circuits. We also have, of course, the Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton having done a practice start, one of the Aston Martins. And I want to know what all of you guys say here about Lance Stroll. What do you think or what do you think in general should happen to him because of the way that he has been acting out at the moment in Formula 1? I think it's quite embarrassing in general for Formula 1 as a Formula 1 fan to see a driver acting like that. We don't normally see that, but it's purely because I think Lance Stroll is just so spoiled in the fact that he's in a seat that has been gifted to him. He doesn't have to work for it. He doesn't have to perform like every other driver in Formula 1 has to. He's pretty much getting that seat no matter what. As Orville Clisby says, Lance will be replaced probably sometime next year. I certainly hope so, because I'd like that seat to be given to someone else who actually deserves it and actually has the pace to be able to come out and challenge their teammates, which Lance Stroll hasn't been able to do once this year, that I can at least think of. So just for those of you who are joining us here at the last second, there is an extra allocated practice session in this session because of the high tyre degradation that Pirelli saw overnight when they were doing some analysis of their tyres from yesterday. It was looking a little bit concerning for them, so they decided rather to put in an extra practice session, extend the circuit, and extend all of those curbs with the FIA so that the drivers don't go over those extra, really aggressive curbs out here in Qatar. Yeah, something they definitely need to address for next year, as Mario Isola is busy speaking at the moment. Yeah, it's really... I mean, Roshan says Lewis also did the same during the Rosberg rivalry. He did do the same. He threw out a steering wheel, but that, I think, is different. You've had a major crash with your teammate, and you're both fighting for the championship. That's different. Lance Stroll has not been able to get out of Q1. He's gone and thrown a major tantrum, thrown his steering wheel out the car, which costs about £20,000, scratched the car, then gone and pushed and shoved his I think it was his trainer in the pits. And that's really not what we want to see. Sarah, I'm just saying a whole Formula 1 team puts an effort while taking care of a baby. It's certainly not what they get paid to do. They're Formula 1 drivers and Formula 1 engineers. They're the top of their sport and the top of what they do. And they are having to look after a spoiled brat who's going and shoving around his race engineers and just really acting in a completely terrible way out there on circuits and back in the pits. I did note, unfortunately, our timing boards will not be working during the session as it is an unplanned session here. It's a quick practice session, as I said, because of the real issues that were found overnight by Pirelli with the tyre degradation and the sidewalls really getting eaten away a lot more than was expected here at the circuit. We had it in 2021, and I'm still very upset that they didn't address these issues. I said during qualifying last night, and I was telling Mark this earlier, we saw that it was a possibility that the tyres that they brought for the session were just too soft. They still had one more step in the harder compounds for this race weekend, but it's something that they could have addressed and something that they have not addressed. And they're going to have to address for next year. We have 180 of you watching alongside with us at the moment. Thank you very much for joining us. Ko just saying hi from Singapore. Do you think Verstappen will be crowned the world champion after the Qatar Grand Prix? It's essentially a given that he can win it this way, that he will win it this race weekend, of course. He can win it in the sprint race today. If he beats his teammate by 3 points, or if he takes a race win, he will become world champion and only become the second driver to be crowned a world champion in a sprint race. The only other driver that has been crowned a world champion in a sprint race is his father-in-law, Nelson Piquet, which is quite funny for them to have a bit of a chuckle there. Kaj just saying fire him, talking about Lance Stroll, of course. Yeah, just watching, Logan Sargent going wide there and taking out a braking marker. Lindiwe saying, I read somewhere that there will be a mandatory 3 pit stop strategy for Sunday. Is that correct? Well, it's not a given as of yet, Lindiwe. They're going to be assessing after the sprint race this afternoon. They're going to be looking at the tyre wear for that. and they'll be judging off of that for the race tomorrow afternoon on Sunday, of course. If they see that the tire wear is still really bad, even with the addition of extra little bits of curbing, painted curbs essentially is what they've had to do here to stop the drivers from going on those really aggressive curbs out here in Qatar and try and get the tire degradation a little bit more under control out here. And yeah, so they're going to be assessing that after today's sprint race and then making the decision for tomorrow. It will be really interesting if they do have to force teams to do a 3-stop strategy. It's something that we haven't seen here before, and I don't think we've ever seen that in Formula 1 before, to my knowledge. And Sarah, I'm just saying, how about the Ferraris? They were literally ruining others' qualifyings. Yes, they were. I mean, they were getting in the way in terms of getting in people's way, causing traffic, and just ruining people's laps. Hopefully we don't get that happening in the sprint shootout again. But I wonder what we're going to have. It was really interesting not to have Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz all that high up in the qualifying yesterday. We expected them to be quite fast off the back of FP1, but they really did not just have that fast time. James saying Stroll needs to go and replace him. I assume you're talking about his father. I'm just asking Mark, please, to get me some water. Yeah, just watching that said driver now making his way down the start-finish straight. I say that, but it's actually Fernando Alonso. Mark's chair is now coming into shot, so I assume he'll be coming across quite soon. So I'm going to start setting up that as well for him to join us very, very soon. Yeah, very exciting though. I'm looking forward to the sprint shootout. It's going to be an interesting session. I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. And yeah, I think Max Verstappen should still have the upper hand in terms of taking it, but I don't know who could possibly challenge for second and third, because of course, very disappointingly, Lando Norris's lap time was deleted at the end of the session. We're just watching a whole bunch of drivers making their way around the circuit at the moment. Nothing too interesting, no one really putting in interesting lap times. It's all just a practice session right now. No one's putting in lap times at all. They're not even showing us their lap times. Mark is now making his way into shot. As I quickly just fix that up, make sure we both fit in. There we go. Now you can see Mark as well, and he's going to start chatting while I fix up some other things in the studio.
Well, indeed. Hello, everybody, and I'm hoping everybody is very well. Just sorting out a couple of last-minute things, but we're all done, and I'm ready now to go through the majority of the session. I might have to leave again, but nonetheless, we'll be here for, right now, what is that? Another practice, as we said, an additional practice that's been set as a result of the changes to the track and the changes that FIA have made this weekend as a result of what we saw yesterday and tire degradation. So massive things. So just having a couple of laps here, watching a replay now of Pierre Gasly. I think he just gets held up quite badly. But no, just locks up going into one of the corners there. Just yeah, his front left just locks up a bit there, and so it goes a bit wide. So yeah, just noting, I think it will be a big problem for not just tomorrow, but I think for qualifying in just a little bit, because will we be seeing all of these soft tires and otherwise being used for all of these? Because we've only got a certain number of tyres allocated for the weekend, and I think tyre degradation has been so high that we might well find that the teams will have to employ different strategies for the sprint shootout, which is just in a little bit, and for the sprint itself.
They may even have to force them to do the sprint race on hards later this afternoon.
And funny enough, do you reckon that you could see for like one of the first times
pit stops
in the sprint race? Is what I was going to say.
Yes, that's why I was thinking they'd have to send them out on hards, because you have to normally stay on a single set of tires for a sprint race. So yeah, it's really weird that we're having these issues. They should have had the foresight. They've done simulations, but apparently these curbs that they have here are slightly different to curbs that they have around at other circuits around the rest of the world. But it's really interesting to see, and I'm hoping that they're not going to have any major issues.
No, indeed, and we're hoping that we're not going to have major issues. But you could see, as I say, as we note, we could actually see for the first time pit stops in the sprint race, which would be hilariously interesting to see. So I don't think we will, but it could be something. Just watching a replay here of some of those drivers, they're still going wide at that turn there for track limits. So personally, I think they're just going to have to get over it. I think they need
You have to remember now, they've got their eyes dialed in for where the track used to be, and we're already seeing this new paint flicking up.
Yeah, but the problem is that it will always will. But they've gone into that corner. Now, the bigger problem with it is not so much, I mean, yes, the tyre degradation on that corner has been bad, but at the same time, drivers have been going wide there anyway because it's such a high-speed corner. Now, drivers are now sacrificing even more speed going into those corners, as we're just about to see the finish.
It's done.
Of
It has
the,
ended
of
already.
the practice session. Yes, indeed. The practice session has now finished. So the checkered flag for this very, very short practice session has ended. And then we're going to have a 10-minute break before getting into the actual sprint shootout, which is what we're all here for. Val here saying, or Ray, sorry, saying, yeah, hi Mark, indeed, hello. And Serum here saying, there was going to be a lot between Mercedes and Hamilton, so nasty in my opinion. Wolf lost control after the I don't understand.
I don't know what that's about. Do be sure to give us a little bit more context on that if you think.
No,
I don't think there is because, I mean, Lewis Hamilton... Ooh, Max Verstappen takes a trip into the gravel.
Well, so just watching Max Verstappen here just seems to just have a big problem there from Max Verstappen. Just really locks up into the corner and just goes quite wide off into the gravel and kicks up quite a lot from the car. So might have done a little bit of floor damage to the car then, also certainly a lot of sand.
I don't think so. It's just he went into the gravel trap there. It shouldn't have caused any damage, at least hopefully.
Yeah, so we're seeing now all these cars making their way back around, of course, to get back into the pit lane. It's the end of this mini practice session, and then, of course, we'll have the sprint shootout. Sprint shootout is exactly the same as qualifying, except that it's a shorter number of shorter sessions. So instead of having 18 minutes, 15 minutes, and 12 minutes, we will have, I believe, 12, 10, and 8. I think that's what it is. 12,
I think,
10, and
yes.
8. So 12-minute session is not, I mean, it's literally the same length as Q3 in a normal qualifying. So certainly much shorter. And I think that will have a big effect based on how today's practice sessions has just gone, because lots of people still going very wide of that corner. So it could be very interesting to note. So Lindiwe here asking a question as per usual. Curious question saying, will Pirelli's contract be renewed when it is time? Heard the other tyre manufacturers are knocking at the door with better tyre innovations. Well, famously, I think it was Bridgestone, wasn't it?
Bridgestone is one that is looking to come back.
I was saying there was one of the major brands says they will not get involved in a sport where tires don't last or something like that. So one of the major
want degradation, yes. I think that may have been Michelin.
I think it was, yeah. One of the major tire brands basically said we will not take part in a sport where they enforce the idea that a tire should not last the race. So it's an interesting one, but I think it is Bridgestone that is knocking on the door, and that'd be great to see them there. Quite frankly, I'm all for a new tire manufacturer because I think Pirelli have been very
even just having
overdone.
2 tire manufacturers would be better, because then we have teams having the choice of what to choose. So of course, if they choose Pirelli one season that doesn't work for them, then maybe the next season they choose Bridgestone and they're really competitive, and we can have a closer racing field up at the front.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And maybe even you can have periods in which you can choose other tires. So you can say 3 weekends you can choose one tire manufacturer, and then for the next 3 weekends you can choose another, because maybe some tires suit certain cars and maybe some tires don't. So
Yes, Raider Bro there asking a great question, saying, what if Lewis managed to take second place in the championship from Checo? Would his seat still be safe for 2024? I think if he had to lose that place, he would certainly not be safe for 2024.
It's a very interesting point, and I actually do enjoy that comment, so thank you very much. It is an interesting one to note. Would Perez be safe if he still comes second?
Because he's losing a lot of points at the moment.
Funny enough, I'm not even sure he's even safe if he does come second. My only reason for that is because it's the fact that, well, he should be competing with Max Verstappen. You know, Max Verstappen's going to win this by a country mile. His teammates should be there and thereabouts. We saw that with Bottas and Hamilton. We saw that with Rosberg and Hamilton especially. We've seen drivers when the team has been dominant, they've really clashed a lot because they've been going for the Drivers' Championship, which is as it should be. But Perez and Verstappen maybe had a very, very small spat at the beginning of the season when Perez won a couple of Grand Prix. But since, absolutely not a chance, because, well, we've seen that Perez is nowhere near Max Verstappen, so it's not even a question as to whether or not they're competing. They're not. At the end of the day, they're not. So would Lando Norris be a better person in that seat? Will that then provide, some serious competition between the two drivers? And then, we'll see some interesting fights, and I think Drive to Survive might enjoy it too. But, I think the question will have to be asked. I'm not sure he's safe, basically.
As I was telling you before the session, though, Mark, Alex Albon is pretty much going around telling media, and I think there's nothing wrong with it, because it's pretty well known at this point that Red Bull are really hard at pursuing
not Sergio Perez, pursuing Lando Norris at the moment for that second Red Bull seat. Possibly even for 2024, 2025, if Sergio Perez stays there. But 2024, certainly, if, he doesn't perform at the end of this year.
That's exactly that. So let us know in the comments if you guys think Perez should hold on to that seat, or if you'd like to see a different driver. Of course, as we alluded to, Alex Albon hinting that Lando Norris will be taking that seat next to Verstappen. Do you think that's a wise idea? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's what should happen? Let us know in the comments. And of course, we are just waiting for the sprint shootout now to get underway after we've had that short practice session. I'm still concerned for the sprint shootout because I think the paintball that is trying to force drivers to stay in so that they don't go over the lines, it's just going to cause more track limit problems, I think. Like far more. You're going to see so many lap times deleted, I think. And in so doing, you're going to see, I don't think you're going to see any quicker times than we've seen previously at this track because of the last minute changes they've made. And as I think Reece has said already, they had these problems in 2021.
Yeah.
This is not unique. They've had these issues, so they knew that this was an issue in 2021 with tire degradation. And now they've still got the same thing here. So it's really, really, really poor management from everybody involved in this race weekend.
It's Pirelli. Essentially, it's down to Pirelli. They should have sent out or asked for... normally they get even track surface samples from the track so that they can analyze it and see how that's going to fare in their simulations. So I just wanted to... The reason why I was keeping on that comment there. Lindiwe said that Christian did say that Red Bull has their arm around Sergio Perez, but I think that grip is tightening. I rather think that grip is loosening, wanting to let go of him. Red Bull want their elusive 1-2 driver finish. Of course they do want that. They could get that this year if Sergio Perez pulls up his socks a bit.
Yeah, indeed. But I think we do have our sprint shootout just about to get going here. So this is round 18, of course, the Qatar Grand Prix weekend. It's a sprint weekend. Track distance is 5.4 kilometers. Full throttle speed at 74.8%. And the track record is a 120.8. Top speed is 344 kilometers. There are 16 turns. And the elevation is, of course, only 4 meters.
Yes, just looking at the tyre allocations for this race weekend, it is the C3, the C2, and the C1 compounds that we do have here.
And that's where we get angry because we don't think it should be the C3, C2, C1. It should be the C2, C1, and C0 compounds, the harder compounds of the lot. As we do see a massive Qatar airliner make its way over the track in what has become quite a synonymous thing with a lot of sports around the world. And it's got a big F1 logo on the side of it. And it's great to see here. And yes, indeed, it's got a driver of the airplane as well. So it's a fantastic little marketing ploy here from Qatar Airways as they fly over the circuit in a massive, what do you think that's? 777?
737.
No, it's much bigger than a 737. That looks like a 777 plane. It's a huge airliner. They're definitely a cross-Atlantic at least sort of thing. So great to see a massive plane make its way over the circuits. We are just about to get going with the sprint shootout. And of course, we do have that poll going for who will top the sprint shootout. But we're going to end that now. And we're going to start the new one. And of course, just as like we did yesterday, we're going to have those polls go up. Who is going to top each session? So, of course, yesterday we saw Verstappen, Russell, and Piastri come at 1, 2, and 3. So those will be our 3 options plus the other. And then we'll go and change those as we see at the end of each session. Let us know in the comments, though, if your driver is not there. Who do you think is going to top this session? And quite frankly, try not to select Max, just because I think we all know that he's pretty much going to finish first. So just try and treat it as who's going to finish second, pretty much. That's pretty much how I've also gone about this season. I see the second place as the interesting one. I go, oh, who came second? That's an interesting one there. Can Fernando Alonso do anything today? I think that's also another question. Just going to a couple of the comments here as well and saying, I just want to wait for Reece to finish this off and then we'll go back to those.
Almost done.
I think we're just
mixing up my spelling.
There we go. Perfect. Cool. And so that poll is now up to go and participate in that poll. Who will top Shootout 1, as Reece says. So I want to go back to the comments very, very quickly as we...
10 seconds to go live here in Qatar for the sprint shootout. I'm hoping that our timing boards will work in this session. It should do. But let's see what's going to happen. As Lewis Hamilton's sitting in his car, what can he do? He had quite some good pace in free practice 1 as well as in Q1 and Q2. But what is going to happen in this session? It is a lot hotter out here in the sun.
And I think you'll see Lando Norris a lot further up because this time I don't think he'll hopefully have his track time remaining rather than being deleted. So that'll be a big thing to watch. Lando Norris, of course, was second fastest before his lap time was deleted for track limits. I do think, again, I keep going back to track limits. It's going to be a big thing going into the session. So be wary of that. Just going to the question here from India. What do you think about the 11th team in Formula 1? Your opinion on it, and can we see Vettel in that new team? Well, I don't think we'll see Vettel in that new team. That's the very first thing I'll say. And secondly, I enjoy the idea of having more teams in Formula 1. I very much do. I don't enjoy how American we're getting. And that's not an insult to the Americans. It's just that it's becoming a bit more marketing than it is sport. And I just want to make sure that we're holding, we're keeping to the sport itself, improving the sport, and not just improving, the grand show of everything. There's a reason why a lot of American sports are only watched by Americans, because it becomes more about the show rather than the sport itself. And I fear that we're starting to go down a road that F1 is going to follow. So we need to be very careful with the teams that we do select taking into that. And we don't want to have too many cars out there if it is going to cause traffic. A lot of drivers aren't very impressed about the idea of more teams. But at the same time, nobody would be in terms of the teams, because then it means more people to compete against. And that would certainly not really be all that welcomed, because we do see a lot of these teams wanting to try and get a few points. And there's more cars ahead of them, and they know that the worst team is just going to make it that much harder. So Charles Leclerc made his way out with his teammate Sainz as they make their way out to Shootout 1, which has got going. So we've got that timer going down. We've got 10 odd minutes to go, and our tracker is, I think, finally updating. Is it updating? We're not quite just yet.
Not.
We're just going to
refresh it and see if they sort it out.
If it's working yet. I think it is green flag, so we are underway. Hopefully, and yeah, we'll let you know if the tracker gets going or not. But at this point, nonetheless, we'll tell you what's happening. So the Ferraris have made their way out. Alonso's behind them, and the two McLarens have also, as everybody's pretty much making their way out the pits.
Yes, as you say, everyone making their way out the pits now. Let's see what they're going to be able to do around the circuit. Especially in the heat, it's going to be a lot more difficult, as well as now they've got those extra length curbs. It's going to be difficult for them.
Yeah, indeed. So, guys, apologies about that. It looks like we're not going to have a tracker. A lot of the trackers are not working. I think it was thrown off a little bit by that extra session. So, it's unfortunate that we will not have that right now. Hopefully, it'll get fixed before the end of the session. But we'll let you know the times, as I do think we have Sainz starting the first hot lap in this shootout today. Let's see what happens here. Watching from Zambia is Chiti here. Great to have you here. And great to have so many people in the comment section, as well as watching the channel. Guys, we're 1 like away from 50. Go smash that like button right now. Somebody just go do it. It would be really, really great, as we do have 9 minutes remaining. Yes, there you go, Reece. We've got 9 minutes more or less remaining in the session for Shootout 1. Sainz has crossed the line in Sector 1, 32 seconds in that first sector. He's on medium tyres also, notably. This is what I was also going to say, is what tyres is everybody going to use for the Sprint Shootout? Because lots of tire degradation. That's going to be a big thing.
Yes, tire degradation is going to be the big thing for sure. And as we see now, Charles Leclerc assessing the fastest first sector overall out on track right now. We are waiting for our partners to reset their timing boards. Hopefully that does get going soon. We are aware of that. Thank you. Smarty's asking, what is a shootout? How is it different? So the sessions are slightly quicker. So it's essentially a qualifying session where you have 3 sessions. In this, it's, I think, 11 minutes, or maybe it is 12 minutes, but I have set it for the same time, and I think it might be 10 minutes, because theirs is, yeah.
Well, we'll see. Nonetheless, we're going to see what happens here. Charles Leclerc did have a couple of purple sectors, but they've been stolen away from him by somebody. He crosses the line. He goes ahead of his teammate at 126.9. Sainz's first time was a 129. Very, very slow from Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc's time a little bit quicker, but I still think these times are slow. Of course, we saw the 123 and 124s yesterday. Stroll crosses the line. And then Perez
now goes fastest. This is the first little bout of speed that we've seen from him all weekend, as now Lando Norris steals that away from Perez with a 126.4, 0.1 faster than Sergio Perez at the moment. Let's see what Max Verstappen can do. I'm sure he's out on track. George Russell, though, is certainly putting in the fastest lap times overall in the middle sector. He's quite a bit up on everyone at the moment. Mud just saying, I'm here. Glad to see you here. And yeah, just watching Russell coming through the final sector now. What can he do in terms of this really exciting sprint shootout here? It's going to be very, very fast and very, very exciting to see who is going to be able to take the top of the timing boards, as George Russell now makes his way to that top spot with a 126.5.
Now, I just wanted to go back to Orville's comment there saying 26 cars were once allowed in Formula 1. Indeed, but they were about half the size of of these
current
Formula 1
cars,
cars.
yes.
So that's the big thing. So, guys, we have just checked across the board. Everybody has got a bit of a problem with timing boards here, guys. So,
It
unfortunately,
seems to be telemetry coming from Formula One, unfortunately, not coming through to all of our partners. But at least you have us giving you live commentary for this Grand Prix, or for this Sprint Shootout, rather.
Yeah, indeed. So Max Verstappen's now doing his first fast lap. He's got a first purple sector, so we're likely to see him put in the fastest lap of the day so far. Let's run through the order, of course, because you guys don't have that available for you. Russell's in first, Gasly second, Norris third, Perez fourth, Hamilton fifth, Piastri sixth, Ocon seventh, Leclerc eighth, Sargent in 9th, Stroll in 10th, and Sainz all the way down in 11th. He had quite a poor attempt. Verstappen's gone very quickly in sector 2, but not a purple sector for him, but he's still quite well up on Russell's time, looking to be a 125 odd.
The middle sector is not where he carries his time. It's the final sector where he makes up quite a lot of time to the other people.
Yes.
Let's see what he can do now as he comes through turn 16, the final corner on this track. He's got a little bit of a slipstream. He's quite fortunate with that. DRS now wide open. He comes across the line, the first 125s of the day, by 0.8 seconds.
Yeah, here's 0.8 seconds up on Russell. He got a purple sector in sector 1 and sector 3. Gasly's up there in third right now, so let's see if he can stay up there. Right now, we've still got the bottom 5 making their way out onto track for outlaps. Alonso, Albon, Bottas, Zhou, and Magnussen. Those currently completing laps are Lawson, Hülkenberg, and Tsunoda. So let's see what they can do as Albon now starts the lap here. Everybody notably is on the medium tyre as well, notably. So, yeah, it's certainly going to be a big thing for degradation. And I did say it's going to be interesting, the sort of tyres that we're going to see these cars come out on. So, Albon's on mediums. Let's see what sort of times he can do in comparison to Max Verstappen. I don't think he'll be beating the times, but let's see how close he can get. I think he could actually go quicker than Russell, though. So, you might head into the 125s at the end there. So, his first sector time is, compared to Max Verstappen's 31.2, he gets 0.49 seconds slower.
As Sargent has his lap time deleted for track limits.
And Gasly.
And Gasly.
Gasly now as well. So we're seeing, I told you, these track limits will now be a big thing here. So we're seeing drivers losing their times and losing their lap times as a result of track limits already.
Sophia saying we need a McLaren comeback because yesterday was heartbreaking. Yes, it was unfortunate for those two McLaren drivers, both having their lap times deleted after the qualifying session. They essentially thought that they were going to, Lando Norris was provisional P2 and then he had his lap time deleted. And then, so did Piastri. Danny Lessing asking what is wrong with time board and track GPS. It's not working for anybody at the moment, unfortunately. So we are bringing you live commentary. What's better than that? Muad also asks, what is our prediction for the sprint race, Mark? Who is going to win that? Max Verstappen.
We need to see what happens in the sprint shootout first. I think that's going to be the big thing. Is we're going to have to see that as we're seeing now Hülkenberg, Bottas, and Zhou finishing up their laps. Let's see what Hülkenberg can do compared to Max Verstappen's 125. Hülkenberg puts in a 126.4. He moves up into fifth, and Bottas now crosses the line. He moves into sixth. Oh no, he goes ahead of Bottas in fifth now as well. And now Zhou crossed the line quite slow from a 127. Not going to be quick enough to get himself outside of the session, I don't think.
George Russell moves himself up into third as Leclerc has his lap time deleted for track limits. He's all the way down in 13th now with just 3 minutes left of the session.
Yeah, indeed. So again, guys, we're going to be bringing you up with all the various things. Currently, we don't want to keep speaking on about it, but just to let you know, unfortunately, the data is not coming through from the track for anybody, so we're just going to...
There we go, it's live now. There we go.
We've got it working.
That.
We've got it working now. So there we go. We've got data available. There we go.
I will get a different map to track for you guys because that one's not working.
So we're just going to get the track up for you now. And of course, it's going to be absolutely no problem for you guys here, as we should have one of these tracks there. We'll get that up for you now. So race control is deleting lap times left, right, and center. Verstappen currently sits first, Norris second, Russell third, Piastri in fourth, Alonso in fifth.
Yes, so just watching at the moment what is going to happen for these drivers. It's looking like it's quite difficult out there. It's not as gusty as it was yesterday, fortunately for them. Yesterday was horrific in terms of the wind gusts that were affecting all of these cars onto track. Sorry, I know the timing board or the track is moving around quite a lot. I'm just making sure that it fits here in our little box that we have for you guys.
Yes, indeed. So, watching a replay here of an Alpine. I think this is it's Pierre Gasly who gets done in for track limits. So unfortunate for him. It's again on that same turn that we've seen be a big problem. I can't speak at the moment. Being a big problem for all the drivers, and he crossed the line. They're also watching a replay here of one of the Haas's also doing the same thing. And there we go. We do have that map up there. Thank you very much, Reece. And so all the data is there for you guys, so we don't have to tell you as progressively what's happening. You guys can now see it for yourselves. As Norris has got a purple first sector on his current lap. Let's see what he can do in the second sector. He's got a couple of green mini sectors. Will he be able to improve upon his time? No, he's not able to in that second sector. But what can he do for the remainder of his lap? Will he go around quicker? And again, Charles Leclerc, just watching a replay of his lap.
It sounds like they are being affected by the wind, because he's being asked how's the wind into turn 5. So maybe they saw a bit of a gust when that happened for him going over the track limits. We now have, as I agree with Smarty saying this track limit stuff is so annoying. I agree, because now we have a whole bunch of replays just for track limits. That's really annoying.
And the problem is the fact that they've made that turn was already a problem yesterday, and they've now made it even more of a problem because they've painted onto the track to try and avoid them getting onto the curb. But in so doing, I mean, they've really struggled to get around that corner at speed anyway. So now you're making it even more difficult. So you're going to see even more track times being deleted.
Yes, essentially they don't want them to go onto the curbs because they're too aggressive, and overnight Pirelli saw that the sidewalls of those tires were essentially going to cause tire failures in the sprint race or on the race or in the race on Sunday. So they've decided to extend some of those curbs and the track limits by about half a meter in certain curbs that they saw were a lot more aggressive, as we have almost the end of the session now, 8 seconds left to go. Max Verstappen's still leading the session. Lando Norris in P2.
Leclerc's in the elimination zone. Sorry,
Russell moves himself up into P1 now, as you say that though, Mark, and the session has now come to an end.
The session is over, but now let's see what these drivers can do in their final laps here. Leclerc, major name, down in 17th. Guess who's also in that elimination zone again? His name, Lance Stroll, down in 18th. Can Leclerc get himself out of the elimination zone as everybody's going around for their final laps here? As we did have temporarily a yellow flag in one of the sectors, but it's been cleared already, so clearly somebody just went off and came back onto track. But can we see Leclerc make it into the next qualifying session? Because he's currently getting eliminated all the way down there in 17th position now. And where will he finish as he's coming around the final corner? Will he be able to improve upon his lap time? He's quite well up on Tsunoda's time, so he should be able to move himself in. But now we're going to see other drivers maybe becoming a threat. Sainz, will he be able to stay there? Lawson, he now crosses the line. Where does he move? He gets himself out. Leclerc, here he comes around the final corner. What does he do? Leclerc, he's safe. He's up into 10th. So, just confirming pretty much, we've got, I think, a few more drivers making their way around. Let's see if Lance Stroll can get out of the elimination zone as well. I think his trainer is begging that he does, so that he doesn't get beaten up again. As Sainz moves up into 5th. And there we go.
Yes, as you say, Sainz goes 5th fastest. A bit better for the Ferraris here. They finally are showing a bit more pace. Charles Leclerc also just makes it out. He's only up in P11. Yuki Tsunoda's not looking safe. He's up in 15th. Could he be eliminated from the session?
Well, I'm just noting the fact that Lance Stroll, Alex Albon, and Sargent are confirmed out. Lance Stroll, once again, eliminated in the shootout. And his teammate Alonso is up in 6th.
Much better for Fernando Alonso than his teammates, as we've seen in pretty much every single session this year.
Yeah, so watching a replay here, I think this is of Lance Stroll. Oh my word, he has a huge moment there and spins out and goes right off the track.
A yellow flag, Mark.
Yes.
Just watching another replay here of Albon, what caused him to lose.
Ooh, my word.
Also getting caught out. It's the wind. It must be the wind.
It's exactly the same spot as Lance Stroll got caught out, so it's unfortunate for both Stroll and Albon. As a result, they are out of the session, though track times are being deleted left, right, and center. So let's see if people do manage to actually stay there. Just going and confirming what is our preliminary bottom 5. Sargent, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Albon, and Stroll are those drivers who have been eliminated. So our first poll, 62% said Verstappen would win this one. You were wrong. Russell, in fact, got the quickest time at 25.4. Hamilton with 23%. He only finished all the way down in 12th. And then Norris with 8%. He finished in 3rd.
Tsunoda going apoplectic on the radio, as per usual. He's not happy with his engineers at all over something there.
Yeah, no, not at all. So Tsunoda is out again, and we know he's not a very happy chap when these sort of things happen to him. He is out of the session. It's very unfortunate for him. Watching a replay of Yuki Tsunoda, I think that's where he gets done in for track limits. Oh my word, he only ever so slightly goes over, and he's fuming about it. The track limits at turn 13, that's where Tsunoda was done in. So he is no longer in the session. He will be out. He will be starting from the back for later today's race. So just confirming one more time that bottom 5 that has been eliminated: Sargent, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Albon, and Stroll. So Stroll, yet again, not making his way out of Q1 or the alternative in the sprint shootout. So I'm sure his trainer's hiding somewhere, hoping not to get
Yeah, I think his
shoved
trainer will
into a wall.
be hiding away. As we see Alex Albon under the visor looking a little bit upset at the fact that he is out of this first shootout session. I still think we need to have a reverse grid for sprint races.
I fully agree. Absolutely agree. I think we should have 2 practice sessions on day 1, qualifying in the morning and qualifying for the race, and you reverse the order for the sprint shootout, and then you have a different sort of points application. It'll be
What's
so
the
fun.
point? What is the point of just having a copy and paste, a short version of Sunday's race? Why not reverse the grid and make things really exciting? Make those front runners have to really fight through the field to get those points if they really want them.
And as I say, all that you have to do is you're going to have to go and allocate points for overtakes. You know, you can go and say, right, only the top 10 get points, and it's from 10 points for first down to 1 point for 10th. But every overtake you make in the race is an additional point.
Or you give 5 points, 5 being the most, 1 being the least, for 5 drivers who've done the most overtakes throughout a sprint race.
Exactly.
Do something different. Make things a bit more exciting for us. Leonardo Longhi just saying, go Liam, go. He has gotten himself, did he get himself out?
Yes,
he did too. Brilliant for Liam Lawson. He got himself out of that shootout session 1. And yeah, just waiting for the second session to get underway. I think we're going to have to wait just a few more minutes. But yeah, a lot of you all watching alongside with us now, almost 500 of you watching. Please do be sure to hit that like button. We're so close to 100 likes on this video. And do be sure to also check out all of our other content and possibly think about subscribing to our channel. We do upload quite a lot of Formula 1 and motorsport content to this channel. And we're really close to 2,000 subs at the moment. So that would really mean a lot to us if you went and subscribed to us right now.
Exactly that. So we will have the second session out underway in just a little bit. And of course, it's a much shorter session than qualifying yesterday. Much shorter times required for each one. So we'll get going with that in just a little bit. And it will be a 10-minute session. Just waiting. We're just currently adjusting our boards here so that we're ready to get going. And let us know, guys, in that poll, who do you think is going to top this session? And who do you think, in the comments, is going to drop out? Of course, yesterday we saw both Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez drop out in Q2. Now, this is the alternative in the sprint shootout. Will we see the same? Will we see major names there? Currently, in that bottom 5, a major name from that first session was Hamilton and Leclerc. So, will we see those two again drop out maybe in this session coming up in just a little bit? Let us know in the comments right there. What do you think is going to happen?
Just looking at the moment at the air temperatures, 35 degrees Celsius. But the issue that we're seeing here today is these wind gusts that really seem to be affecting and upsetting these cars. We got asked by Muad, is wind difficult for drivers? It makes life a little bit difficult when it comes when you're not expecting it, especially into those really difficult corners when you can just get pushed over the track limits.
Yeah, it's exactly that. So the wind at such an open track can really build up and really push these cars around wide. So just watching the crowd here, all very, very much being entertained by the racing that they're seeing before them. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the second shootout. I do think we're going to lose some major names. Somebody asking here, why is Lewis so far away from George? Well, I can tell you very, very plainly. I think it's because Lewis's time was set a little bit earlier than the rest, so he was almost dropping out there, but he's safe for the session, so he will be fine. And Leonardo, though, saying that one Ferrari will be out in this session for sure, as we do see both Mercedes at the end of the pit lane getting ready to start, and the session is underway, and those Mercedes drivers do lead us out, followed by the Ferrari and the Red Bull, I think, of Max Verstappen. So, not waiting around, of course, very short session, just 10 minutes long it is, and Sprint Shootout 2 is underway.
Yes, as you say, Sprint Shootout 2 is now underway. We should get those. Oh, it does look like our timing boards are working now for the session, so that's brilliant. Leonardo Longhi saying one Ferrari going out for sure in this session. It will be quite disappointing if we do, but I think it's also just the fact that they've had 10 minutes to practice this revised track layout, and it's really difficult with the wind as well.
Yeah, it's exactly that. So I think we will lose major names. I think otherwise drivers will be very cautious around a couple of these turns for track limits, which has been a really, really big thing so far in today's session, and was also a big thing in yesterday's session. We saw Lando Norris drop all the way down to 10th after finishing second for track limits. Silent Bob here just giving a comment saying, reverse sequence start and sprint according to championship position could be very interesting for a trial. Well, it is an interesting one, but the problem is that it's an automatic starting position for that race before you even get to the weekend.
I think it's more exciting having a qualifying session and then reversing that grid from qualifying. That at least gives us something to watch. Yeah, makes things interesting,
And
for sure.
again, as I say, you give points for people who finish in the top, and you give points for overtakes as well. And I think, quite frankly, I don't mind if you have really like a huge number of points being allocated for each weekend. What difference does it make? Everybody has the same opportunity to go and grab them, and I just think it would certainly make a much more competitive and a much more thrilling spectacle for all of us at home. So
George Russell has started his hot lap now. Hamilton close behind him. Hamilton's going to be getting a little bit of a slipstream from him. Then we have Sainz behind him. Perez following Sainz, Leclerc. Then next out on track, Piastri, Verstappen, Hülkenberg, Norris are the other drivers that are still out on track at the moment. Yet to get out on track is Gasly, Alonso, Ocon, Bottas, Zhou, all out there as well, still in the pits.
Indeed. So I'm going to have to leave you for a little bit. I've got to go and manage something else, but Reece will take you through the majority of this session, and I'll be back as I can.
Yes, just managing multiple things at the moment. But we are going to be bringing you everything that is happening here in this Shootout 2 session. And what an exciting session it's looking to be here, as there's a massive moment for George Russell into turn 6. Lucky he's able to hold on to that, but otherwise looking quite neat and tidy for him out on circuit. I think it might still be a bit of the wind gusts throwing him off in certain areas. But, another correction as he comes through turn 11, going through that corner a little bit wider than he may have wanted to be, but he's still able to keep it within the track limits, hopefully not getting his lap time deleted. Little bit of a bigger lift through turn 13 than is necessary, but I think that's just because of the fact that this circuit has been completely completely revised for this session. Leonardo saying, I would have liked to have the sprint to have a continuous element or elimination round each certain amount of minutes as shootouts instead of Q1, 2, and 3, but shorter to feel more different from the race. Yeah, it could be interesting, that for sure, as Sergio Perez is currently up in the middle sector. Our top 2 is Hamilton in first, Russell in second, Hamilton with the 125.8. Perez, though, doing very well in the middle sector, but Verstappen beating that at the moment. Perez finishes up his lap time, and he goes fastest overall with the 125.8. Max Verstappen fastest overall now in the middle sector, with Leclerc now taking the second position out on circuit. Piastri comes out of nowhere, though, with 125.6, taking that top spot for now as a provisional sprint race pole. Lewis Hamilton loses his fastest lap time as Max Verstappen finishes up his lap with a 125.1. Everyone's out on a set of mediums at the moment, as Charles Leclerc is also having his lap time deleted. He gets pushed all the way back down into 9th. So our top 5, Lando Norris takes the fastest spot there with a 124.9, the first 124s of the day. What can Lando Norris do throughout the rest of this session? Will he be able to take that away from Max Verstappen today? As we have Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, Perez, Hülkenberg, Russell, Sainz, Lawson, Leclerc, and Hamilton making up our top 10. Abhinav just saying 2,000 subs and 500 watching. Let's get those subs up, guys. Thank you very much for that comment there. Yeah, let's get that up. We're over 500 viewers now. Let's try and get that to 1,000 before the end of the stream. Yeah, very happy, though, to have all of you guys watching alongside with us. Very, very happy to have all of you as well deciding to join us on this channel. Lewis Hamilton getting his lap time deleted by millimeters there. It is so close, as Charles Leclerc watching his lap time being deleted as well into turn 5, going ever so slightly over the track limits there. Yeah, very disappointing for those drivers, but track limits has become a massive topic in Formula 1 at the moment, and I think we want to see this being gotten rid of. Maybe what they need to do is, at every single curb, they just need to put a gravel trap at the exits of those, so that drivers just aren't tempted to take too much curb into these corners, because there is that natural penalty that they will receive. If they go into that gravel trap, they might damage their car, they might lose a lot of lap time, or they will lose a lot of lap time,
and they could get eliminated from the session due to their mistakes. Just watching the wind at the moment, it's really strong with a 26.2 kilometer an hour gust that is getting blown around the circuit. Smarty saying poor Leclerc getting his lap time deleted in every session. Unfortunately, he just has to be better, as Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, and Fernando Alonso are all out on track at the moment. Fernando Alonso 0.4 down on Lando Norris's time, though, through that first sector. This should put him in, though, between Verstappen and Piastri. Still a good lap time from himself. Esteban Ocon, 0.6 down on Norris's time. That's a little bit further down than Alonso, for sure. What can Gasly do, though, as he finishes up his lap time coming through the middle sector? And Ocon finishes. He goes up into 5th. Where does Gasly finish at the end of this lap? He finishes up this lap time, and he goes now, just waiting for him to cross the line. He only goes up into 9th. Not brilliant for him, but at least it's in the top 10 for now. Lewis Hamilton as well finishes up a banker lap and puts himself up into 7th. Alonso moves himself ahead of Hamilton up into 7th now. Hamilton's done 4 laps on those mediums though, whereas Alonso's only done 2. So certainly made a bit of an issue for them here with the fact that they've had to go and do double the amount of lap times, or double the amount of laps that they've been wanting to. Zhou Guanyu gets his lap deleted, and the geologist saying there's nothing wrong with deleting. I agree, there's nothing wrong with deleting the laps because of course they go over the limits. I think there just needs to be a more natural penalty that deters drivers from trying to exploit going over the track limits by millimeters, because it does give you that little bit more pace. Silent Bob agreeing with me, saying a 1 meter gravel track would be enough, I think. I completely agree. That's what I was saying a little bit earlier. Should be that natural penalty that gets brought in. We have Sergio Perez now making his way around the circuit to put himself a little bit higher up on the board. He's currently in 7th. It should be safe, but we don't really know what's going to happen with the evolution of the circuit in the last few minutes of this Shootout 2 session. Teo asking where Mark is. He's currently just running some things in the background. He'll be back very shortly, though, with 2 minutes left of the session to go. Donnie Lesson giving their predictions here, saying Russell P1, Verstappen P2, and Norris in P3. Just getting a great shot of Lewis Hamilton through the visor there. You can see his eyes and how much he's concentrating. Such a brilliant shot there. I love being able to see that head-on cam. Leonardo saying they're afraid of gravel as there are full wet circuits. For sure they are. Pure Blood also saying I think they have bike racing a lot on these circuits, so it would be unsafe for them. The bikes must just be better. We're seeing though an Alpine going around in turn 11 and getting his lap time deleted as well for that. Orville Clisby, no, he's not on the toilets. He's doing work. Let's see, another lap time being deleted for Charles Leclerc. Oh my word. Carlos Sainz going very much over the track limits there. He's down in 13th at the moment. He's seriously struggling. Charles Leclerc has been told by his engineers that he's getting the turn into turn 1 correctly because of the fact that there is that bit of a headwind and that gust that does push you out. And push you wide. So he's gotten turn 1 correct now. Now he just has to get that other sector. I think it's turn 5 and 6 where he keeps going over the track limits. He's got that banker lap in now. But we want to see him getting a little bit closer to the top drivers out here, as we have now just under 10 seconds left of this session. Love Swanky just saying, praying that Piastri's lap time doesn't get deleted. I'm certainly hoping so as well. It looks like they're safe at the moment. Hamilton now moves himself up into 6th. As we have Piastri at the moment on a really hot lap. He's gone fast in the first sector. Not being able to improve in the middle sector, though, for himself. Oh, no. Lewis Hamilton's lap time is apparently going to be deleted, as he does go all the way back down into 10th. He is the driver at risk. And the session is over. So will someone else out there on circuit be able to beat him? Hulkenberg currently putting in some really good sector times. Will he be able to take that spot away from Lewis Hamilton? As he does now fall into that bottom 11. disappointing for Lewis Hamilton. He will be out of the shootout session. He's not going faster on another lap time. Mark there just having a little bit of a laugh there as Lewis Hamilton is out in Sprint Shootout 2. Sergio Perez goes third fastest now. Brilliant from himself to move himself a little bit higher up in the standings. As I say, that session is now ended. Yeah, very, very disappointing for Lewis Hamilton. I'm sure he is going to be absolutely fuming once he gets back into the pits. But it is really tricky out there at the moment with minimal running on these new revised track limits, of course. And now just watching what's happening with the rest of the drivers. So Nico Hülkenberg finished that lap time, moved himself up into P9. Piastri, as I said, aborted his lap time. Luckily, he's still safe. Yeah, just breeding through that top 10. Lando Norris takes the top spot of this session with Russell in P2, Perez P3, Verstappen in P4, Alonso in 5th, Leclerc 6th, Sainz 7th. He was able to get himself out there in the last few moments. Piastri P8, Hülkenberg P9, Ocon P10, the last of those safe drivers in that session. Then the drivers who dropped out were Pierre Gasly, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Liam Lawson, and Zhou Guanyu. As Liam Lawson has had his lap time deleted, and that is why he's down in P14. He says over the radio, "Sorry guys, I messed up, my bad." Still a good qualifying session for himself as he's beaten beaten his teammate once again. Just watching where he did go and get that lap time deleted, he really did go quite far of the curbs there. But that's what happens, unfortunately, when you do go over the track limits here. Exclusive Motorsports saying, how does the sprint session work? I thought it was a short race. Yes, it was. So this is the qualifying session for that sprint race that is happening later on this afternoon. That will be happening, I think it's at 6 o'clock if I'm not mistaken. I might just have to check on that. Let me actually quickly look on Formula1.com. The sprint is at 7:30, so that is the time it is in 3.5 hours, or 3 hours 48 minutes. As Lindy West says, go Hülkenberg. Haas needs some points. I agree with you. They've had a dismal season so far, and Haas certainly do need some points at the moment on the board. Yeah, just looking at another few comments there. As John Center just says, and Stroll doesn't get it. I mean, Stroll was out in Quali 1 or Shootout 1, so I think he qualified in the same position as he did yesterday. I have no sympathy for the Canadian of Lance Stroll anymore. As harsh as that may seem, after his behavior yesterday, I don't think he has many fans anymore in Formula 1. Yeah, but just waiting for this next session to get underway. I will let you know when that does get underway. It is going to be, how long did we say, Mark? 8 minutes. I think it is 8 minutes. He's too busy. He's not listening to me. Yes, he agrees. It's 8 minutes. As I want to... Man, Sprint Shootout 3, not Sprint Shootout 8. Yeah, Shane Marsh saying gravel traps needed, they won't go wide then. Exactly, I keep saying this. They need to bring in gravel traps to just rein in the track limits, because that's becoming such an issue here. As the geologist says, go Hulk. Gary says Hamilton can't even beat his teammate in the same car at the moment. If he is the greatest driver, then he should always be beating his teammate. I mean, that is a conversation that I'm sure a lot of people will be having in the comment section. Do be sure to go and either rebut what Gary says there or agree with Gary says in the comment section there. Yeah, as Orville Clisby's doing exactly that, saying Hamilton has a lot more points than Russell at the moment. And Exclusive Motorsports saying, so they qualified for Sunday yesterday, correct, and now they repaint the limits and sprint in 3 hours, correct. So they've repainted the limits. Now they had a quick 10-minute practice session. Now they're doing the qualifying essentially for that for the sprint race later. They call it a shootout because they don't want to call it a qualifying session. Just watching a lot of these drivers having their track times deleted there. Disappointing for them, but it's the rules. David Beckham is apparently here this race weekend, waiting to watch. Just looking here, race control, noting an incident in sprint qualifying 2 involving Russell and Gasly has been noted. Yeah. For leaving the failing to go fast enough on their delta time. We're watching Lewis Hamilton making his way to the weighbridge at the moment as Kaj says Hamilton is a goner. I don't necessarily know. He's a big name in the sport. Max Verstappen already waiting at the end of the pit lane. He's not wanting to get caught out by any issues here. Let me just, 480, that is going to be how long it will be. And I'm waiting for the session to get started. I assume it will start in the next few moments as we're just waiting for these track times to start. We're seeing as well, I think that's Carlos Sainz behind Max Verstappen in the pit lane, also not wanting to wait around to get started. But the issue is when you do come out and wait at the end of the pit lane, you allow your tyres to start cooling down a little bit. But I guess around the circuit where the ambient temperature is so high, it doesn't really make that much of a difference around the circuit. I mean, you would think it would, but yeah. Just waiting for the session to get underway. It should be getting underway now as I start that timer. Good reaction time from myself. As exclusive motorsport saying, no wonder the drivers don't like sprint weekends. It certainly does make things a lot more difficult on the drivers, as it's a lot more down to the drivers' abilities and not necessarily the teams being able to set up a car that can drive nicely for them. Silent Bob saying the internet is poor in Germany. It's hakelig und unscharf, and I can't see anything clear, but Reece rescued it by his outstanding Murray Walker radio commentary. Thank you very much for that Silent Bob. Ich kann auch in Deutsch sprechen, dass du willst, aber ich denke, dass meistens von unserer Schauer kann nicht Deutsch sprechen, so ich gehe zurück zum English. As Mark is looking a little bit confused here next to me, I'm going to go back there. Sorry to all of our non-German speakers, but that was just a little bit there for Silent Bob. Yeah, I do have now Mark here next to me again.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. Yeah, we've got just 7 minutes left of this session here. And yeah, I mean, massive news that Hamilton was eliminated in that previous shootout. And we literally called it. That was the interesting thing. We said, who do you think is going to be the major name? And I said, hey, look, it's going to be a bit of a problem. So Shane here in the
I really like that comment there, Shane.
Just saying, all these people being critical of F1 drivers have probably done 2 track days in the Vauxhall Corsa. If that. I don't even think most of them have ever been to a track. And quite frankly, it's not insulting people, but it's a rarity. And I think the closest people get to racing is going around to their local grocery store and decided to go a little bit faster.
I certainly do.
So, yes, yeah, we've nonetheless got our fantastic Formula 1 drivers getting going in this session. So, the 10 drivers that we have both Red Bulls, both Ferraris, both McLarens, only one Mercedes, only one Aston Martin, a Haas of Hulkenberg, and an Alpine of Ocon. So, let's see what happens in the session, guys. I'm very, very intrigued. And, of course, we've got that new poll up. I'm sure Reece has put it up for this. Well, no, he hasn't yet. So, I've just reminded him there. So, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we're going to see some new times here. Let's go and have that poll get put up in just a little bit. Verstappen is setting the first fast lap for us in this session, which is going to be an interesting one. I think he's really going to keep a hold of that first purple sector he's already put in at 30.8 here on a set of soft tyres. Notably, they come out in softs this time around, most of the drivers. So, again, tyre degradation clearly, I think, because they're using mediums in the previous couple. So, Sainz now coming into Sector 2. He gets a 28.8 in Sector 2. So, really, really quick time there. And I think it's the quickest Sector 2 time we've seen so far today. And I'm very intrigued to see what he can do. So, he comes around the final bend here. Let's see what time Verstappen puts in. Coming now onto the main straight. Of course, it's got to go a little bit while until he gets there. And he crosses the line and now puts in a 124.5. Almost as quick as yesterday already. So very, very good for Max Verstappen. Can anybody beat that time? As Sainz is also following him in. He's gone a little bit slowly around half the track, as is Leclerc. Sainz now coming across the line. Let's see where he moves himself in comparison to Verstappen. He will move into second, a 126.9. He's 2.4 seconds away. 2.4 seconds. That is an age in Formula 1.
That is a massive amount of difference between the two drivers. Who's that between? Verstappen and Sainz. That is huge. I think that's Sainz's outlap, though.
Oh, no, Verstappen's time has been deleted.
It has?
That's what's happened. Verstappen's time has been deleted for track limits. I was wondering, So it's very unfortunate. A brilliant lap from Max Verstappen will have to be had again. And we don't have much time, of course, because it's very short, the session. Just 4 minutes left, pretty much. So, yeah, Max Verstappen's going to have basically one more attempt, I imagine.
Sergio Perez way up on Carlos Sainz's time at the moment through the middle sector. Let's see what he's going to be able to do through the final sector. Max Verstappen, even though he had his lap time deleted, he still holds on to those faster sectors.
Yeah, indeed.
As Perez now does finish the lap, and he does go fastest overall with a 125.3. Max Verstappen, that's the first lap time he's had deleted. And Verstappen gets told he has his lap time deleted, and he goes, is that for real?
Yeah, not very impressed as Max Verstappen. So
Just watching a replay of it, where he went wide. I think this is into turn 5. Ooh. It's so close.
No,
it is so close.
But it's the rules. It is unfortunately over the... Ooh, that's not
no,
the
it's
one.
not.
That's not the one. That's not the one. This one here. Yeah, there he does go a little bit over. So unfortunately for Max Verstappen, he'll have to have another attempt at that. And right now we have Perez, his teammate, though, leading in first place. Sainz in second. Those are the only 2 lap times we've got. I think Leclerc did finish a lap, but I think he had his lap time deleted as well.
He did, as we're seeing a replay of that now. He also went wide into turn 5. And Harsh also just once again saying track limits are really annoying. And they are becoming such an annoyance of Formula 1 at the moment. We don't want to see sessions being completely destroyed by track limits.
Yeah, indeed, and I think you're sacrificing a lot of time by just trying to stay within that corner there. And you're not able to actually just put the pedal to the metal. I mean, all you have to do is put natural barriers. We've said this already. Put natural reasons. So, yeah.
I don't know if you've spoken about Generic's comment there.
I played Atari pole position, and I think I'm better than Stroll. Wow.
Yes, most likely.
Yeah, indeed. Piastri now crosses the line. He goes first, but I think his teammate Lando Norris is going to come across the line even quicker.
Piastri goes half a second clear of Leclerc, though.
Yeah.
That's brilliant from Piastri.
Well, I think
and then Norris goes even faster with a 124.5.
Indeed. So we're seeing Norris a 124.5, Piastri a 124.5 as well. Perez at 125, sorry, 0.3. So the McLaren's going around almost as quickly as Max Verstappen went round earlier. So great to see from those two. Can they hold on to those laps, though, or will they be deleted for track limits? I think we're going to have to wait, because quite genuinely, it is going to be a bit of an odd one here. 2 minutes left in the session as we just get confirmation of Leclerc's time being deleted earlier.
Yes, and Max Verstappen still hasn't put in another time. Is he back in the pits? No, he's not. He is out there. I don't see a better time being put in by him, though. Is he going to have time to...
It's going to be an interesting one.
He might be doing a double cooldown lap, that's why. He is coming through the final sector now, as you can see on your screens. And, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what he's going to be able to do. It's going to be one final attempt. And, yeah... Diana asking, were track limits an issue last year? They weren't, because we didn't have racing last year, but they were an issue in 2021.
In Qatar is what it means as well. In terms we didn't have racing. We didn't have racing in Qatar last year.
In Qatar.
Yeah, so Qatar was not on the circuit last year. It was in 2021. That was not 2022. So it's come back this year in 2023. And let's see, as you're getting into the final minute here of the final sprint shootout as well for later today's race. And currently we have Norris sitting in first, Piastri in second. Those times are still staying there, so clearly...
But there are a lot of hot laps being put in at the moment. Perez doing well in the first sector, not improving on the second sector. Verstappen absolutely blitzing through the first sector, setting the timing boards alight. But so is Leclerc. He's also taken a few mini sectors away there from Verstappen. What can Russell do? He's also doing a relatively good lap time for himself. He's about to finish up his lap as he comes through the final 2 corners. Now, where does he put himself? Coming across the line now is Fernando Alonso. Does he start another hot lap, or is he finishing his lap? He's finishing his lap. Where does he go only into 8th as Russell finishes his lap and he goes into 3rd? Max Verstappen takes that fastest first sector. He's got a purple mini sector in the second sector. Is he going to be able to be within track limits though in this lap?
Well, what I am watching is Alonso starting this lap, and he's got a few purple sectors already to his name, and he's starting right at the end of the session. So I think him and Russell are the ones to watch, because they've started right at the end here.
Perez has had his lap time deleted.
Perez's lap time has been deleted, but he's currently sitting in 4th right now. And here comes Max Verstappen. Can he get the new fastest lap of the day? As Norris has put a purple sector in sector 1. Verstappen's going to cross the line now. Where does he move?
Not doing well enough.
He moves to 3rd only. Verstappen will not start on pole for later today's race. Norris and Piastri still 1 and 2. But I'm looking at Alonso's times. Alonso's really motoring around the circuit. I think he could be very, very quick here. So is Norris as well. Let's see what those two can do. Norris is also improving upon his time. Sainz also doing relatively okay, as is Leclerc with a couple of purple sectors. There we go. Leclerc moves into 5th position, so he only finishes in 5th. Russell's still going around. He'll be the last driver as well as Ocon to cross the line. Watching now, Piastri goes into first. A 124.4. Nice
Brilliant
points.
from Oscar Piastri. But Lando Norris is still going faster out there on track, as is Carlos Sainz, who finishes up his lap. Not good enough. What can Charles Leclerc do? It looks like he's...
But what can Alonso do? I'm very interested by Alonso's time. He's got a couple of purple sectors.
Oh, Lando Norris actually went off. That's why he didn't improve on his lap time.
Alonso moves into 5th. Carlos Sainz will go in 6th. And the last driver to come across the line here, I think, is going to be Ocon. And I think he's already come across. So that's pretty much the end of the session, everybody. So there you go. That is your grid for later today. And notably, we've got a McLaren 1-2.
I like Leonardo's comment there saying, holy McLaren. And it certainly is a phenomenal day for McLaren out here with Oscar Piastri taking pole for the sprint race later this afternoon. It's going to be a very exciting session for sure. Going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, I was about to say Piastri and Norris, and I think they're going to have to try and defend against Verstappen. They've got enough time, of course, in a sprint race to try and defend against him because it's quite a short race, so hopefully they can keep him behind. Indeed, a Piastri pole position. Of course, it's not a race pole position, but nonetheless, very, very, very happy for the rookie. He's going to be starting in first position for the sprint race later today.
Piastri just being told, great job, that's P1, and very calmly just goes, woo, thank you.
Yeah, but he's a very relaxed and calm character.
Very, very relaxed.
So just running through your top 10 for today's sprint shootout. Piastri first, Norris in second, Verstappen only in third, Russell fourth, Alonso in fifth, Sainz and Leclerc 6 and 7, Hulkenberg 8, Perez all the way down in 9th, Ocon in 10th, Gasly in 11th, Hamilton in 12th. Big news there, of course. Bottas 13, Lawson 14, Zhou 15, Stroll 16, Albon 17, Tsunoda 18, Magnussen 19, Sargent 20. Sorry, I've gone into the bottom 10 there, so I was just going to continue on as I was. But yes.
That's all right. We are going to move our way into the sprint qualifying review or the sprint shootout review. I just need to change that title and then we can get through that.
Yeah, indeed. So we're just watching here a replay of, I think this is Max Verstappen having his track time deleted earlier, or yeah, just ever so slightly going out. And that's why he had his lap time deleted earlier as well. You can just see, oh my word, millimeters, literally millimeters. But rules is rules. So, yeah. And
if it applies to everyone else, it certainly applies to the world champion.
Yeah, and all the McLaren fans in the stands, they are absolutely ecstatic to see the orange, or what do they call it? Papaya.
The papaya army.
Papaya army. The papaya cars, they're in first and second. Absolutely brilliant shootout for them. I'm very keen to see what they can do in the shootout itself and the race tomorrow because they were looking quick all weekend. And very happy for the Australian driver of Oscar Piastri, of course, who will be starting ahead of his teammate. And hopefully they don't fight into turn one and team orders come in early on before the race starts saying, Norris, you've got to defend against Verstappen. Piastri, you get a good start here and go for it. They've got to try and protect Piastri, back Piastri to do something in the sprint later today. It'll be fantastic for him and I cannot wait, of course, for that. So we're about to start our review here and here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports here. You're joined by myself, Mark, and my very, very good friend here, Reece, who's, of course, going to be reviewing the sprint shootout that we've just had. The big news of the day, McLaren 1-2. Reece, what an incredible little piece of driving from the two.
Yes, a phenomenal end to the session here in Qatar, almost said Bahrain. But as I said, a phenomenal end to the session. It was really exciting at the end with Max Verstappen having his first lap time deleted in that final shootout session. And then Piastri just pulling it out of the bag at the end. Lando Norris was on a faster lap, but he lost it in the final sector. So it went to Piastri, and Piastri takes pole. To take you through our top 10, Oscar Piastri finishes in P1 with a 124.4, Lando Norris in P2 with a 124.5, and Verstappen in P3 with a 124.6. So very close between that top three. Then through the rest of the top 10, Russell in 4th, Carlos Sainz in 5th, Leclerc 6th, Hulkenberg 7th, Perez 8th, Alonso 9th, Ocon 10th.
And then, of course, we move into our bottom 10. Now, notably from Q1 and Q2, we saw a big name drop out in Q2, or rather Sprint Shootout 2, whatever you want to call it. That is, of course, Lewis Hamilton, who you've not heard until now. He starts the race in 12th, well, the sprint in 12th, of course. Gasly starts in 11th. Then Bottas 13th, Lawson 14th, Zhou 15th, Stroll in 16th, Albon 17th, Tsunoda 18th, Magnussen 19th, and 20th, as per usual, Logan Sargent.
Yes, Logan Sargent had a relatively good day today. Logan Sargent?
starting in 20th. Yes, for the sprint. Of
Oh,
course,
sorry, not
later
Logan
on.
Sargent. I'm thinking of Liam Lawson.
Yes.
Yeah. Liam Lawson had a relatively good day today, getting ahead of his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who qualifies down on 18th. A little bit of a mix-up between the names. They both start with an L. That's
Yes.
why. And yeah, he had a really good day out there, finishing up in P14. Unfortunately, he could have finished a little bit higher, but his final lap time was deleted in Shootout 2. But still a good position for him to start the race, or at least the sprint race in later this afternoon.
Yeah, of course, only the top 8 get points there, so he's going to really struggle to get points in such a short race. But nonetheless, a good start for him. He also outperforms his teammate again, Yuki Tsunoda starting down in 18th position. But Lance Stroll, after not making out of Q1 yesterday, didn't make it out of Sprint Shootout 1 either today. All the way down in 16th, and he would have been 17th had a couple of lap times not been deleted for track limits. So very, very concerning for Lance Stroll and Aston Martin. I think that's been the big talk of the weekend. What's going to happen with him? Is this the breaking point for his Formula One career? Of course, yesterday we saw a very angry man. I think he must be angry now today as well.
I certainly think publicly he has lost a lot of credibility in the Formula One paddock. Social media has been set ablaze in the past couple of hours because of the way that he acted yesterday in qualifying and the way that he shoved his engineer out the way or his trainer out the way. It's not what we want to see. He's not necessarily a very good representative for Formula One drivers anymore, and I think possibly there's going to be a lot of push maybe from other people back in Aston Martin as well as sponsors, because at the end of the day he's also representing them and they don't want to be represented by somebody like that.
No, not at all. And meanwhile, his teammate, I've just got the news now, has had his lap time deleted.
Oh, no. So
Alonso will no longer start in 5th. He will start in 9th. So it's just run through then. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc will start in 5th and 6th. Russell in 4th now as a result of Alonso getting his lap time deleted. Very unfortunate for the other Aston Martin driver, but he still significantly outperforms his teammate, who's down in 16th. Russell also, to be fair, outperforming Hamilton by quite a bit. Russell up in 4th, Hamilton down in 12th. Do we think McLaren can hold on to 1 and 2 later for the sprint shootout?
Well, I would hope so, because it would make a really exciting sprint shootout ahead of us. But I don't know. Max Verstappen is really hungry to take that championship here today. And I think you're going to have to be a force to take that away from him.
Yeah, that's exactly that. And of course, we're going to be watching that with all eyes very much set on the screens, as Max Verstappen can potentially win the Drivers' Championship for 2023 in today's sprint shootout. It all comes down to his teammate as well, how he does. Sergio Perez starts in 8th. That is, of course, the last points position in the sprint. So be sure to join us on the channel. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. And we'll see you later for that sprint. And you'll be dragged onto the next stream right